Alright guys, we're back. It's Silver Part 1 and I am so excited. We are going to be continuing everything we've learned up to this point, but more importantly, we're going to add some very important new skills. And the first few games here in Silver are going to be basically learning build order optimization. Now, we touched on this last week's episode, but I really want to talk about it a little bit more. So what is the big difference? The big difference is we are going to just build one tank, one Viking. And do you know what we do after that, guys? We get the 4 barracks down, and then we build more tanks and Medivacs. So we're just trying to make sure we get those barracks started earlier. And you could argue, well, we won't have as many tanks out. It's going to be a little more dangerous because of that. But I feel like a tank on the high ground and a bunker keeps you so safe. And getting the earlier barracks is going to allow us to hit a much faster push timing, which is going to allow us, as we cue this SCV back there, and I try to make sure I don't play too fast. Got to be careful. Cue a few more guys as well. Chuck 2 of these on gas. There we go. Just used a shift deselect there. A bit of an advanced mechanic, but I'll be talking about shift deselecting after the first few games. So first 3 games will be build order optimization. Next 3 games after that are going to be all talking about shift deselecting, which is a really great mechanic. Last few games are going to be stacking these 2 mechanics together and adding control grouping our army frequently, something which most players really struggle with. So we're going for reactor and orbital command center, guys. And we can see our opponent's building is in their base. Remember, that's the only first thing you scout is their building in their base? If it is, we're fine to continue our build. Whereas if that barracks wasn't there, we'd assume, oh, we're being proxied. We'd build a bunker, we'd wall off with a depot, and then we'd resume our build, but with the command center on the high ground. Okay? Just keep in mind, that's what keeps us safe in this matchup. So we're going to drop a mule, build some SCVs. I know this first game I am playing a little bit faster than normal, as I just kind of talk you guys through. But check it out. SCV Scout, remember, we have him on a hotkey, so we don't actually need to look here. You see that big red dot on the minimap, you just select the SCV, click it on the mineral patch, and now we start these Marines. We can also get a factory here, cue that back. Looks like we're under attack by something, just an SCV, so no worries. Oh, just a Marine, sorry, so it wasn't able to kill it. Let's keep building SCVs here. We can also take a second gas, and let's slow right down to talk you guys through the basics of the build, because we never want to stop focusing on those basics. So keep queuing up Marines and SCVs, just 2 Marines at a time, 1 SCV. Remember, our macro cycles will start once the command center is finished. That's when we start doing that, right? Not before then. Oh, we do want to get a bunker. We haven't built that yet, so we can just build that there, no worries. Chuck a couple guys on gas, build another SCV, and build 2 more Marines. Okay, guys, so check it out. Natural finishes, we make an orbital. When that finishes is our first proper macro cycle, right? For now, just keep coming up an SCV, mule, a few Marines at a time. Now we've got the factory, guys. We still want to go for the starport just like normal. Get the tech lab as well. We want to click the starport, shift 4, add that to our factory key. We also want to take 4 of these Marines, click them on the bunker. Now remember, you need to click on that after it's finished. If I didn't stay there and click on that again, then that wouldn't have worked. First macro cycle, guys, so let's go. Gonna queue up a lot of SCVs. Gonna queue up about 5 there. Would have queued up 6, but I didn't have the money. We're then gonna queue up Marines and a tank. We don't have the money, so I'm just kind of staring at this. And as soon as the tank starts, we're gonna do the final step, which is Gary and Bruce. Friends forever. Now here's a cute tip in TVT. I like to have spotters on the edge of my base. So we're gonna build 1 depot there. And then we're gonna build the rest up in our main. And we're gonna get Bruce to also build a depot up there, and same thing. So they'll both meet behind my gas. Let's do another macro cycle. A few more SCVs, a few more Marines. We don't have money. We don't wanna build a tank, remember, just 1. And we wanna build the Viking. Because remember, the big change we're doing now is going to be stopping production. So we put the tank on the high ground, use shift, just right click, shift, siege up, there we go. Do another macro cycle, guys. A few more SCVs, a few more mules, a few more Marines. And then we don't produce off the tanks. We don't produce off the starport. And queue up another depot. Now you could argue you could build 2 depots, but you don't really need to just yet. So we're actually gonna send Bruce back. And once we start the 4 barracks, because we're not producing out of these, we're not filling up our supply, right? So let's just queue the Viking across the map. Just queue it through with shift click. And we build those 4 barracks. Now look at this, guys. We're under attack right now. Oh my. So what do we want to do? We want to pull some SCVs, right click with the bunker, repair it, and then go back to mining. We just got distracted. So what do we do after a distraction? Deep breath. Build SCVs and mules. You guys ever feel that panic? Ah, what's happening? You start looking around like that, stop it. So SCVs and mules, Marines. Now that we've got those barracks starting, we can go tank. Reactors should have already been building. We're a bit slow on that. And then depots. So we can get depot. Where's Bruce? Bruce can rejoin Gary over there. They can go back to being lovers / depot building friends. And we can do other stuff. Control click the barracks. Shift 5. Build 2 gases. Build an engineering bay. Look at that. All right, now another macro cycle. Build SCVs, queuing up lots and lots of SCVs, a few more Marines, another tank, another Medivacs, but the reactor's not done, so we'll have to wait on that. That's fine. Double tech lab, double reactor. And this build order, you can already see these barracks are up so much earlier than they were with some of our other executions earlier on in the Bronze to GM. And where's the depots? Last part of the macro cycle. I almost forgot the last part. What kind of keyboard do you use? 7 is really far to stretch to my command center, says Kyvek. Remember, guys, for those who are only tuning in and didn't watch the start of Bronze to GM, this is not representative of the actual keys. I would recommend you have that much closer. If you guys open up the document, you'll see my suggestion for some pretty standard hotkeys on what you should be doing for those hotkeys. All right, guys, so don't build SCVs because we're already at 49. Just mules, Marines, Marauders, tank, double medevac. What else? Stim and shields. Now, obviously, you could argue, remember, guys, I could delay those medevacs till after stim and shields has started as well. But let's keep the depots going as well. Sorry, guys. Once again, broke the macro cycle. I should have built the depots, only then done the upgrades. Because these are one-off upgrades. You only do those in between macro cycles. We also want to queue up concussive shells. And let's do it again, guys. Last mules for this game. The rest are going to be saved for scans. 2 marauders. We want to build a lot of Marines. So we want to build, in this case, I could build 4 Marauders if we've got a lot of money. So 2 on each Tech Lab barracks, and then 4 Marines on each of the others, so 12 Marines. We then build a tank. In this case, I queued up 2, just to make sure we don't have any missed mining. We don't have money for the medevacs yet, so we'll just queue up depots. And I'll queue up an extra round of depots ahead of time, just to make sure. We can go back, and this is like tabling something until you have money. Notice I've come back just to queue up the medevacs. Even though that's out of the macro cycle. That's a very advanced technique. We'll add in a lot more as we get higher level, guys. All right. Now remember, mules. Wait, we're not doing mules, are we, guys? So just Marauder. Lots and lots of Marines. Tank. We don't have enough money for a tank, so we're just going to wait for that. There we go. 125 gas, 150 minerals for a tank, remember. Now check it out, guys. Stim is there. Concussive needs to come in. They're both almost finished, which means it's go time. Let's go. Let's unsiege the tank. Let's grab our army. And you're going to notice my army is looking quite beefy. Let's unload that bunker as well. Rally to the front. Grab all these guys. Shift 2. Let's A-move across the map and grab those last 2 medevacs as well. And we'll move to here. So let's try and scan. Looks like my opponent's in a very defensive position. We can move here and then try to find a nice attack angle. Lots of Marauders, lots of Marines. And, oh, Raven Harass, guys. So what do you do against Raven Harass? Just run your SCVs away. And remember, just box and then right-click. Box and then right-click. The deselecting mechanic we're going to use later today, guys, is just like that. Shift, left-click, left-click, left-click. Right-click on the other gas. Shift, left-click, left-click, left-click. Let go of shift, right-click on the minerals. I'll talk more about that later on. Okay? Alright, guys, now remember, because this is TVT and our opponent's kind of turtled up on tanks, we want to make sure we swap into Viking production. So keep building Vikings, as well as more Marauders and Marines. Our opponent's coming out to fight us, so let's control-click these tanks, siege those up, and let's A-move and stim. So it looks like my opponent was lacking some map control, and this is really helping me out. But we've already killed the army, and if we keep chasing, we're chasing into tanks on the high ground. So let's run away, guys. We could have tried to focus the command center if we wanted, but that's okay. We're going to unsiege the tanks and take a breather. Build depots, Marauders, Marines, tanks, Vikings. Okay? Just lots and lots of Vikings. Box these guys. Shift 2. And we can come forward. Oh. So, let's scan and try to see what the setup is. So notice his defenses are mostly on the natural. So what we can do here is something we talked about a lot in the previous weeks. And this is not normally a go-to, but what we're going to do is basically we click on the medevacs. Now this is where you click the medevacs. And notice how a lot of people make the mistake here where they leave these guys following. You don't want to do that, guys. You want to go like that, then get the medevacs. And we want to just go unload in the corner of the main. So what we're going to do is we're going to say everyone unload there, boost. Now because we clicked pretty deep and we flew right over some building turrets, that's pretty bad. But we're going to boost in. And this is a great way for finishing the game. We want to stim those and attack move them. Now, we don't want to micro this anymore. We just want to grab the rest of our army, and we want to try and attack the front, okay? So let's try and move over here. And let's see if while he's distracted in the main, we can get some damage. Now, ideally, you have more Medivacs and you bring a lot more tanks there. But look at this. There's only 2 tanks. So now we can stim and attack move. And remember, if you move in a bit more, that's great. You can basically just siege the tanks there now. And pull the bio back because we want him to come down the ramp. Drop the scan for vision. And then your bio can just kind of stay back here. So you can see he's got a tank on the low ground, but that's all right. And just keep your bio away from that high ground where that tank is. And as long as I keep the bio back there, we can now move it and then just hold position. Go home. Marauders, Marines, tanks, Medivacs. Now I do that very quickly, so I slow down, Marauder, Marine. I'm just simulating you guys taking a bit longer to press those buttons. Then build some depots, grab these guys, shift 2, bring them to the front. And this is the point where, look, if you really can't get them to leave the game, guess what? What do we do, guys? Well, we can make +1 armor, but most importantly, let's just grab these excess workers in our main, jump to the 3rd, build it. Jump to the 4th, build it. We don't like to do this because we're trying to really just do our 2-base stuff as good as possible. We don't want to get sucked into trying to macro 4-base this early in our career as a player. This is a good thing we can do. The other thing we can do, guys, is we can use that dumping key we talked about. We can just check the corners. Same thing here, dumping key. We're just checking the corners because he could have float a command center out, be mining elsewhere, or have a corner base this whole time and we won't know about it. So what we can do, we can move these tanks forward to make this a little bit more. You can click his siege tanks to see where those dotted white lines are. So if you, another way to do that is just control click his siege tanks. Wait, that doesn't work because they're his units. So we can just basically move these tanks forward here. And look at this, we're under attack, guys. So let's box these guys, stim, A move. And it looks like we are going to take that out. That's nice. These guys can be shift 2. And look, he's taking that base at the front. Ah, okay. So we can try to kill that one. So these guys are going to try to run over there, guys. Stim, attack that, siege these tanks here. And our opponent should be basically getting knocked out of the game.
Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
Now, I'm going to let these Marines die trying to kill this command center because I think killing a command center is really worth it, guys. So we're just clicking it.
Completely mined out of mineral.
And we're going to pull those Vikings back when it dies. Okay, there we go. Now, our Vikings are going to be giving us air vision. So we can use these to hang out. And, oh, he's got a Viking, but we have more, so we can fight that. Okay, so we can just sit there. And check it out. This allows our tanks to start sieging him. So now he has to scan just to make sure we can't move our tanks forward. So behind this, let's take almost all the workers from the main, move them to the 3rd, take the gases. So what do we do, guys? Right-click the minerals, build gas, or right-click, build gas, click, build gas, click. That's okay too. Slightly less efficient, but we've been doing it that kind of noob way, so that's fine. Build an orbital, shift 7, set the rally point, jump to the 4th base, shift 7, or whatever your command center up here is, rally point, orbital. And what's happening over there? There's some fighting happening over here, guys. Let's box these guys and move them over. So he does break out, but he's going to lose all these units. And as long as there is nothing else, GG, well played. We'd have them kind of locked in. It's hard to force your opponent to leave the game, which is why it's important for us now. And I know I'm like, 2-base or die trying, don't expand. And a lot of people, they get frustrated because they're like, in TVT, you can't kill them though. I think it's good to play games like this where you basically say, okay, like, you want to really commit to the attack, you want to move across with your big 2-base army, you want to try and get big damage, but it is good to have some follow-up plans. For the most part, I'm still just basically making bio tank off the same production, which is totally fine. The other thing we could do is I could have built an armory. Using an armory, I could have got siege tank upgrades, and it would allow me to continue my engineering bay upgrades. So technically, getting an armory and a 2nd engineering bay is something you build when you go for like a 3rd or a 3rd and 4th command center in this case. And that allows you to start 2-2 upgrades for your Marines and Marauders so they keep getting stronger rather than just being stuck on +1 or 1-1 upgrades. And the other thing that you can do there as well is get the tank upgrades. Getting +2 on siege tanks is really important because then they start one-shotting Marines that are stemmed, which is really, really powerful. So that's awesome. Obviously, I could do this a lot faster in this game, but APM, attention is a restraint, and that's why I always want to make sure I don't kind of give you guys too crazy a kind of direction. We're playing about 76 APM this game. Sometimes it goes a bit higher when I spam some buttons a bit quickly. Sometimes it goes really slow when I'm just sitting there talking and not clicking anything. It's not a perfect representation of a silver player. It's not meant to be, but I really hope I'm showing you guys stuff at a nice, good pace. Let's review the most important thing here, guys. Let's benchmark just very quickly to compare this to our previous games, okay? So we got to the enemy side of the map with how many units and at what time? Remember, we were benchmarking our attack, so we just want to do that to see what is the difference in the benchmark compared to last week. Last week, we had a TVZ on Dragon scales where we moved out at 814 with 4 tanks, 4 Marauders, 39 Marines, 3 Medivac, Stim Shields, +1 concussive at 127 supply. This game, if we go to 814, we can just compare supplies, like a real simple way just to, in this case, compare to one of the games from last week. Okay, so notice we can already see. Remember, guys, it was this exact same map last week. We moved out here. We got ambushed by Banelings right here. Do you guys remember that game? And this was in a game where... Oh, actually, we did lose. That's a bad comparison because we lost SCVs to stuff. Bad comparison. A better example would be a much more chill game was versus Juchul on altitude from last week. 8 minutes 35, we had 150 supply. So let's go to 8:35 and let's compare. All right, so looks like the supply is pretty similar. The tank count's going to be lower by 1. This time we have 10 Marauders, 53 Marines, whereas in that game we had 7 tanks, 5 Medivacs. So we had 1 more tank, 1 more Medivac. This is before we were doing the barracks faster, but we were down 6 Marauders and 2 Marines. So overall, the numbers aren't too drastically different right now, but it's a little bit cleaner, just a little bit cleaner. It's not massive differences. It's just a bit more Marine Marauder in the army. And I think as we speed this up, we can probably do that even faster. So let's check those barracks timings. And let's see when those went down.
Our base is under attack.
So our barracks went down just before the 5-minute mark this game. And we could potentially get that even earlier. If we could get those 4 barracks at like 4:30, that's going to be massive. This is the sort of thing you want to look at when you're improving your play. Obviously, you don't want to do it at the cost of, say, missing SCV production or something like that. But definitely something we could do. We did hit a small supply block here or there and the occasional missed SCV this game, so it was not a perfect early game. But you can see here at this point, yeah, if we start those barracks here, when we first have 600 minerals, which is like 4 minutes 40, bam, 4 barracks go down. That would have been brilliant, right? Instead, I queue up another full round of SCVs, Marines and stuff, I believe. Actually, I'm missing SCV production there, so a little mistake from Piggy, guys. And there we go. All right, cool. Not too bad for a first change up with this variation, but I definitely like that factory and that starport idling for a little bit longer. We are meant to build the reactor a bit faster. Overall, though, this was really cool. All right, guys. So here was the big mistake from my opponent because he moved his whole bio army out away from his tanks. If he just stimmed and ran away, this would be a much better game for him. But I was moving forward and scanning. Something you should also know, guys, whenever your opponent's scanning you in the mid-game onwards, you should always be wary that their army might be nearby. Because people, especially the higher level you get, are always scanning ahead of their army to go, hey, am I going to walk into his army? So getting scanned in TVT especially usually means you're about to get attacked. If you watch Pro TVT, you'll see a player with Al Elm's vision at this point, or even just slightly before, where he doesn't even, you'll see a pro with this vision. He'll get scanned here in the main, and he will immediately stim his whole army and run it into the main. That's what a pro will do, because a scan in the main, he will assume there's a drop about to come in. And that's why the scan's there. And you'll actually see that happen a lot. So the next time you're watching Pro StarCraft, pay attention to that. All right, guys. So we did go for more of a Doom drop this time. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about that move because I actually saw that he was building a turret and I still spent another like 30 seconds explaining how to set up the drop. And this killed me inside because I knew there was a turret building there. I'd seen it. So I know that I didn't know there was a whole ring of turrets. But I was like, oh, and a lot of people accidentally follow the Medivacs with their army. And this is where I was like, I know I'm letting those turrets finish, and this is literally hurting my brain. But let's point out something more important. What I should have done with this pickup is I should have got the Medivacs and clicked them on a few of the siege tanks, then picked up the bio. Because if you get tank sieged up in the corner of someone's main base, and your opponent has to stim into your sieged tanks, that's where these sort of Doom drop plays get really, really powerful. And because I didn't do that, this drop was not nearly as scary. And it only ended up working so well because I did a better job of macroing, and it just distracted my opponent enough that my other army could push in the front. You can see here I lose like a full Medivac. Now, I didn't do the drop on the move maneuver. If you guys want to know how to do that, all you need to do is you click the drop hotkey, which is this one, unload all, and you left click on the Medivac. So if you got 4 Medivacs selected, or in this case 3, you have to go drop hotkey, left click the Medivac, drop hotkey, left click the Medivac, drop hotkey, left click the Medivac. So you just go button press, button click, button click, button click. That's the way pros do it. There is no faster way to do it. If you see a pro unloading 7 Medivacs, people always say, but I see them unload them at the exact same time. It's not the exact same time. If you go into a YouTube video of that, you watch Maru doing it, they all start unloading slightly after each other because he has to go button click, button click, button click. But think about it. You can almost press these 2 at the same time because you're using different hands. One for the hotkey, one for the click. So as a pro, you can do it incredibly quickly. Could you just hold the button down and then click? That might work, Lyrisid1. I've never tried that. Yeah, a lot of people always go, oh no, it's so fast. They must have some technique where they all do it. Definitely do not hold down shift. Do not hold down shift because shift queues things up. So if you've got them moving somewhere, if you do shift, you're basically saying move there and then start unloading. They'll have to complete their other orders before they do it. Definitely don't. It's literally just unload, left click, unload, left click, unload, left click. And then once you've given those orders, you can still right click the Medivacs around and they'll keep unloading wherever you move them. Extra move orders will not cancel that. So that's really nice. So as I said, guys, sieging tanks here would have been huge. If I had a few tanks, I actually thought tanks would have just happened to get in the Medivacs. I didn't notice till I unloaded that, wait a second, I didn't have any tanks in there. An easy way to tell is there was no big slots taken in the Medivacs. You can see the Marauders take up these bigger chunks. A siege tank takes up half of the Medivac space, 4 slots. So it's very easy on these white bars to see what's in each Medivac. That's all Marines. That's 6 Marines and a Marauder. This is Marine, Marauder, Marine, Marauder, Marine, Marine. That's 8 Marines. So it's very easy to see if you've got tanks or not, and that was a big mistake. Do you have to left click on the ground or the Medivac? You have to left click on the Medivac to make them unload while moving. If you unload on the ground, if you left click unload on the ground, you're telling them to go unload on the ground, and that's the mechanic that I did here. We did this the easier way, which is you just all the Medivacs unload on the ground. All I did here is what you guys are usually going to do, which is you have all the Medivacs selected, you press unload, left click on the ground, they'll all move to that spot and then start unloading. The reason why left clicking individually on each Medivac is they can start unloading while they're boosting in. This would have allowed me to get a lot more units out of these Medivacs before they died. Do you have to click for each unload or just once and keep them on move command? Not sure what that means, sorry. They will all unload, it'll unload all of the units. Yeah, it'll unload all of the units once you click it. So anyway, guys, we pushed in the front here. Now, siege tanks are scary. There's a wall in front of those siege tanks I probably wouldn't shove in, but nothing in front of them, 2 siege tanks on their own, we can just stem and attack into that. And once you get a position like this, that's a winning position. All I need to do is siege my tanks up. If he attacks down here into me, the bio can stem forward. But if he's saying sieged up there, I'll pull my bio back. If we A-move, all of our bio will run in front of our siege tanks, get itself killed, and then our tanks are left on their own, where he could clear it up with just dropping some units on top. So notice, all we did here is whenever our bio went a bit far forward, we'd right-click it back, and then as he came way down the ramp, we'd A-move it forward again. In that case, I actually right-clicked forward just a little bit. You can see I clicked them just there. And here, right-click them back. So you just have to keep right-clicking them back, and if you're happy with them, you just pull them back a little bit, press hold position, and you're all good. And at this point, that's it. Remember, in TVT, a lot of people are like, but what do I do now? And it's like, just sit there. He's on 1 base. It's his job to break out. Terran is about taking forward positions that your opponent has to deal with, and then going back, doing a macro cycle. Build more Marines, build more Marauders, bring our reinforcements across the map, check there's no corner bases, and then we can think about maybe putting Vikings up front and inching siege tanks forward, but for now, we don't have to worry about anything. Even if he sieges a tank there, he could technically kill this tank without me having high ground vision, and I go, He's spending all of his APM and attention trying to get out of this base, and I'm just like, build more units. And you know what? If he's stuck on 1 base, what do, guys? We build a 3rd, we build a 4th. We could have also gone 2nd engineering bay and armory. We keep building units. I didn't build any extra workers this game, guys. We just were happy to sit on 45. If you want, you could build some more workers here as well, but you really don't need to because you're already at 45 workers versus a player who is effectively mining with about maybe 12, maybe 15 workers at most because their base is mining out. So as long as you just keep making army off your economy, you have an astronomical income advantage. You can see it here in the income tab. I'm mining more than double the minerals, more than double the gas. And easy peasy. GG. Couldn't use scan for corner bases. Big waste of energy. I need scans right now to maintain vision here in case he starts using scans plus siege tanks to move forward. So I only have 2 orbitals. I don't have many scans available. So if we were to scan the corners, that's very lazy, whereas we can just send a Marine to the corners. And that takes very little APM, and that's a mechanic we need to get used to doing anyway. All right, guys, so it looks like we've got the interface bug where it's randomly changed my interface to a weird kind of teal colored one. No worries. We're playing a PROTOSS player who's about 2430 MMR, so this is going to be a bit of a harder opponent. They are up there in, I think, like gold 2, gold 3, I think gold 3 actually. But anyways, just continuing the build and really want to talk you guys through the basics as we do it. So we want to stay calm, organized, hit those macro cycles, and of course, going to be continuing with that order of the build. So we go barracks into the gas, very nice. And you might be wondering, how do I jump the screen like that, guys? So this is what I'll do a lot more in my normal games. I'm jumping to my 2 different camera locations, remember, just in case anyone's wondering. So if you guys enjoy the camera movement like that, you want to do it yourself, that's the way to do it. I've got to set up those camera locations first though, which is what I'm doing right now. So we just set up 5 camera locations really quick. Takes a little while to get used to doing it so fast, but notice they don't need to be perfectly centered when you first start them. These 2 are pretty good. 3rd one, it's all right. 4th one's all right. Well, actually, my mouse accuracy is pretty good. What can I say? I've been playing this game for a long time. Those are all really well centered for me just quickly clicking it on the map. But what can I say? Just play 50,000 games, guys. You'll get there. All right, guys. So we're gonna go reactor into orbital. And we want to go for that command center. Now notice I was chasing the probe, but if the probe just runs away, send that SCV back to mine. You don't need to chase it so far away or anything like that. Let's get that command center started. We're going to shift command center hotkey, recenter the camera location, and we're going to center that. Now notice we've seen the expansion. So guys, we can just click that SCV home and we can get that depot started back here.
Command center has been updated.
All right, guys, let's go drop the mules. What do you use camera locations for? Now keep in mind, guys, my buttons, if you want to know my buttons, it's a weird advanced hotkey setup, but in terms of where do I place them, just building SCVs and Marines right now, we go main base, second base, third base, fourth base, fifth base, and then rally point / production. So the rally point is kind of on top of my production in the early game, so that's just kind of usually around the front of my ramp. All right, let's keep building SCVs and Marines, and let's get that factory started, okay? So factory, add to the hotkey, get the second gas going. Let's get that bunker going. And often our scouting SCV can build that. If it happens to have come home early, if our opponent did a nice early expansion, we can use that scouting SCV for that one. It's really nice. All right, keep building SCVs, keep building Marines. I'm making sure I queue up at least 2 SCVs at a time, because otherwise we're going to be missing a lot of worker production. So that's something we've got to be really on top of, guys. Let's grab 2 workers, chuck them on gas, build some more SCVs, drop some mules. And orbital starting. So remember, about 3:30 when this finishes is when we start to do those proper macro cycles. Get these 4 Marines in the bunker straight away. Totally okay if you accidentally send more guys down. We can go starport, tech lab. Get the starport added onto the hotkey. And let's go, guys. We're going to go a few more Marines and waiting for that first macro cycle. So we've got our command center selected. We're going to go SCV, SCV, SCV. Queue up 4 SCVs, drop a mule. Build 2 more Marines. Set the rally point on the factory and starport. We're waiting for that money for that siege tank, guys, same as always. And once we start the siege tank, Gary and Bruce, or at least Gary for now. We'll start just with Gary to start, guys, and we can add Bruce later. Now our main's saturated, so let's rally to our natural here. Build a few more SCVs, a few more Marines. Remember, only 1 tank, so we pause production on that factory. We now build a Viking. Would you recommend Reactor First for higher MMRs as well? If you're not that keen on microing Reapers, go for it, guys. I mean, Reactor First is just, it's never a bad way to play. It's actually very popular in Pro TVT right now. Queue up another depot. Drop a mule, build a few more SCVs. And you know what, guys? Let's make sure this tank goes there and then there, because remember, otherwise you'll get stuck on the Marines. It's time for those 4 barracks, okay? Just need a little bit more money. There we go. So I had to kind of wait a few seconds to get the money for the last barracks, but notice, guys, 4 minutes 44 barracks. That's so quick. We can send our Viking through to scout as well. And then what do we do? Another macro cycle. Build SCVs, build mules, build Marines, build a siege tank, get a reactor on the starport if we didn't already get that. We want to keep building the depots. Okay, so we are... Oh, that is not a wall off, guys. Notice there's a diagonal. You always want to overlap the depots, right? So I can't place it there, so we want to do here. You always want to overlap those spaces as best as you can. So Bruce is going to join Gary. They're going to finish the wall, and then they'll both move up into the main. Behind it, a few more SCVs and mules, a few more Marines. And you know what, guys? We didn't get the gases yet. So while we're waiting for all those barracks to finish, let's go. Double gas engineering bay. Let's jump into the main base.
Up and running.
2 tech labs, 2 reactors. All right, so now we've really got to make sure we just get our macro cycles going, right, guys? A few more SCVs and mules, a few more Marines, a tank, a Medivac. Just one Medivac for now. I don't want to build too many, guys, because remember, we need the gas for these upgrades. That's the most important part. So we're just waiting for those, stim and shields. Now, obviously, we were not doing the depot part of our build, but that's because the depot builders weren't ready. They were both kind of transferring from the wall off to the main. So we delayed that. Now, that's a really advanced mechanic, which I probably shouldn't have done. An easier way to do that is to just stick to the macro cycle, build SCVs and mules, build Marines, tanks, Medivacs, grab the SCVs, queue the depots. So try not to overcomplicate things for yourself. I have these sort of habits I fall into where I'm talking about one thing, and I just start making really dumb choices that are fine if you're a high-level player, but if you're a low-level player, it's going to waste your APM. So try to be really efficient and deliberate with your actions, okay? So anyway, we're at 47 SCVs. It's as many as we ever need. Last mules are going to drop now, guys. Marauders, Marines, tanks, and Medivacs. So we're going to build one more tank, and then we're going to try and build Medivacs with our next bit of money. And see, because I put on gas a little bit later, we are struggling with the gas. So the faster we get those going, the better. Do we always use just 2 SCVs per command center? Yes, that's right. We're a little slow on queuing that, guys, so I'll do a supply drop as well. As long as you're continually queuing more depots with Gary and Bruce, you should pretty much never get supply blocked. When you learn some 3 command center builds that are very greedy, which I wouldn't recommend till at least Diamond Plus, you might start needing more. But if you're just building these guys constantly, you usually should be building the supply a bit ahead of time. Now, I've actually been going probably ahead of what we should be doing today, so I'm going to slow it down in the next one. We've been kind of doing little breaks in the depots, which is a super advanced technique. We would rather have a bigger supply gap and never get supply blocked. Let's build some more Marauders, some more Marines, another tank, some more Medivacs. Let's get concussive, guys. All right, it's time to move out. Let's unsiege that tank. Let's grab our whole army and start moving out here. Let's set the rally points there. Unload the bunker. I don't know why this SCV's on this hotkey. I think that must have been my scouting SCV, but whatever. He's here now. He can lead the boys. I'm going to imagine he's the standard bearer. Pick up a few more depots, a few more Marauders and Marines. Grab these guys as well. Shift 2. We're going to move across the map to a staging point. And what do we do behind it, guys? You guys know what we do. Oh, geez, there's a big army there. Okay, we're going to stim, and we're going to siege the army. And remember, he's got sentries, so we don't want to chase, because he could have force-fielded me and trapped me. So we're going to scan his army. And we're going to just chill for a little bit. Now, remember, we can go Vikings to counter Colossus. The reason I don't want to do that, though, is I got a lot of bio, and I have very few Medivacs. So, keep building Marauders, Marines, tanks. These units are all going to be good. But you could see he's kind of at the front of our base, and as a result, we can't really move around. We're just going to... We can't really move out just yet. Even though it looks like he stumbled into my army a few times. So we're just kind of chilling. Remember, what do we do whenever our opponent pins us at home like this, guys? We send a distraction drop. So we just click these guys on here. We're going to dump that hotkey. We're going to queue that around the edge of the map to go drop in their main. We then reselect our main army, click it back to the front, Control 2 to make sure the units inside the Medivac aren't on our control group. We box these guys, Shift 2, move them down. Now, we weren't meant to do this until later today, but now is the perfect time. It's time to do some deselecting scouting, guys. So we're going to use Shift deselecting to get some map vision. We're going to right-click on the watchtower with our whole army, Shift left-click a Marine, and then right-clicking back and Control 2. So what I just did is I sent a single Marine to the watchtower without having to click on that single Marine. We'll explain it in more detail later. I'm going to do it on the left watchtower. Right-click there, Shift deselect a Marine, let go of Shift, right-click back, Control 2. And he's going to attack me, so we're going to stim and attack. We don't want to attack into the force fields, remember, so we're going to click back. We don't want to run away. And notice now I have watchtower vision. How good's that? So I'm watching him this whole time. Now I just did a lot of micro, so it's time to go more Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, more Medivacs, as well as Gary and Bruce can just queue up 4 more depots, the last depots we'll ever need in this game. And he's done a great job of keeping me pinned now. Remember, I queued a drop. So he will have to go deal with that, except he's not. So if he doesn't let me move forward, that's very annoying. We're gonna have to just leapfrog our tanks forward to try to get out of here, okay? Shift 2 on these guys. So we're gonna unsiege a few tanks. We're just gonna start moving our tanks forward. We're gonna do the slowest move across the map you guys have ever seen, okay? So just box a few of these tanks here, guys. Now notice if you select the Marauder, it's kind of annoying. So you can either shift left click to get rid of the Marauder, or you can control click on the picture of the tank. Remember, control click selects all of a unit type. Shift click will deselect the unit you're clicking on. And then we can just use that leapfrog to move these tanks forward little by little. Every now and then select the barracks, build some more Marines, Marauders, tanks, and Medivacs. And we can just kind of move our army forward little by little. And you can see, control click the tank siege, pull the bio back. Remember, we don't want this bio to walk into the Colossus. Colossus will wreck the bio if we move into that. So what we can do here is we can try to kill the warp prism. So we're just going to click on that warp prism and then pull back. And we're just going to keep moving these siege tanks forward little bit by little bit. So unsiege, move forward. Unsiege, move forward. More Marauders, more Marines. Alright, what else are we going to do, guys? Well, because this game's dragged on, there is an argument behind actually doing some macro here. Third base, get +1 armor. We're not going to bother. We're just going to focus on the army. I'm doing it really slowly, but because I'm max, guess what? I have no macro left to do this game, guys. No macro at all. So let's just grab my army and say we need to win with this army or we lose the game, okay? So what are we going to do, guys? We're going to send a Marine ahead, Shift deselect, send a Marine ahead, Shift deselect, send a Marine to the right, Shift deselect, send a Marine to left, Shift deselect. That was pretty fast. Let me do that again, guys. Right click on the minimap where you want to scout, Shift left click a Marine. Pull back, Control 2. That's how you do it. But you don't need to do the remaking of your army group at the end of that order if you're doing it multiple times. Okay, so we can see where his third is. So we're going to go around the left, try to siege in between the bases, and force a big fight, okay? We could have done it this way, but we're going to try and move around the left. If we can see where his army is, look, he's lured out of position by a single Marine. We just need to be sieged up, and we can probably win the fight. So we're just going to keep scanning over there, try and see what his army is like, and now we just want to basically control-click the tank and siege it. There's more tanks off-screen. Control-click the tank, siege it. And remember, we want to just spread our buyout. So box-click, 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 box-click. And then we just want to press stim, but don't actually attack move, guys. You just drop a scan so you have vision. If we attack into him, our army can get taken down. And because that's doing well, I want to box these guys and A-move the main. That's going to force him to come and fight me, right? So we can stim these guys. Now notice they're stuck behind each other, so just move them up. And then you attack where they can all fight. And if he tries to defend, his units get killed by the tanks. So this was the drop initially, and then the Marines, and my opponent pulling home. If we ever get sieged up in a good spot where he has to attack into me, it's suddenly very, very good for us. So let's run away, because those Colossus are there, guys. And we technically probably could stim on them because they're unsupported. Build more Marauders, more Marines, more tanks. And because we've got lots of Medivacs, we can now build Vikings, okay, guys? Now, does he have anything down here? He doesn't. So look at that. So because he moved up that side, we can now move our Bio Army down the bottom. And just move forward there. Now notice I moved my whole army. That's a bad habit there, guys. Better than moving your whole army in this situation, leave your army spread out. Remember, I spent so long spreading it out before, so why am I taking it away from being spread out? If I wanted to go there, I could have just grabbed a few guys, stimmed them, and micro them. This is low risk probing, poking at your opponent, trying to force them to fight into you guys. Trying to force your opponent to come and engage you, right? This is way lower risk, whereas moving the whole army, I could have got my whole army hit by a disruptor, right? Or my tanks would have been left on their own. 10 zealots could have charged down, killed all my tanks. So you gotta leave your units split up there. You gotta leave your units split up. Now, obviously, if I had a bit more room to breathe, we could have gone third base, fourth base, and remember, second engineering bay and armory. You could also build more workers. These are like things you do for a later game transition. You can also build extra factories if you want to go heavy tanks, extra barracks, Ghost Academy. These are all things you'll see people adding in pro matches the longer the game goes. I still don't want you all to focus on these things, but I'm just doing them every now and then just to introduce you guys to the concepts of what a transition looks like. So if you ever feel like that's what you want to do, I really want to go to the next step of the game, you have at least some tools to understand what you need to go to there. Because remember, when the armory finishes, we can start our 2-2 upgrades. So once that finishes, you start 2-2. The extra bases give you somewhere to transfer because your main is mostly mined out, your natural's half mined out. And if you want to build more workers, you say, well, we've already saturated this base like immediately. So you just set your rally points to this other base. You just build some more SCVs, right? We're maxed right now, so we can't build them. Make 2-2, vehicle weapon upgrades. And that looks fantastic. So opponent's build doesn't look that crazy, guys. I know people saying they were smurfing, I think just because their army was quite big and far forward. But their army control looked pretty trash to me. No offense to Nemesis. Nemesis played a good game, like good macro. I love the idea of moving forward like that. But you could see that when I didn't walk into their army and kind of give them the fight they wanted, they did really struggle. So I think it was good playing. It would work versus a lot of Terran players who don't scan ahead as much, who aren't as careful. But what do I have? I have the recognition of the situation I'm in. What's the situation? My opponent was trying to attack me. If they're on your side of the map, they want to fight. So I played very cautiously as a response to that. You guys have seen me do this versus a lot of the ZERGs and a lot of the PROTOSS players who you can tell their style is all about ambushing my siege tanks on the move out and trying to jump on me. I've said a few times that the robo styles aren't as good at this, even though it's annoying if my bio gets like force fielded up and stuff. They really need to keep an observer there, see when I move out, and then they need to just like jump on my army really hard. But my opponent here, I think, was a little bit slow to do it. If they A-moved right now, I think it could absolutely potentially have won the game. Guardian, like A-move, Guardian Shield, and split the army. Let's see how they do though. So notice they're not on attack move, they're on move command. They keep move commanding forward a little bit, and they didn't drop any force fields, unfortunately. So they could have tried to split that army with force fields, kill some stuff, and then pull back. Would have been a much nicer way of doing that. It is what it is. They also unfortunately forgot... Oh no, they extended Thermal Lance just finished, so it's a shame that was a bit later. But if they use like a Zealot Archon army or, you know, big Zealot Archon Storm army, something like that's much better for just... You just A-move it, drop storms, and there's no fancy micro involved, right? So you can basically just A-move your army, and then all you need to do is cast Storm here, cast Storm there, cast Storm here, cast Storm there. You can have a good time. So Nemesis kept trying to catch me on siege, but Nemesis should know with that observer that I'm still just sitting there with most of my army. So if Nemesis just chilled here and said, okay, you're just sitting there, move the observer over a little bit, wait for me to unsiege, Nemesis could basically just probe up the third, transfer some workers down, keep boosting the power of their army, and kind of moving forward. But there was no upgrades with either Twilight or Forges. Third base didn't have many workers. So Nemesis was like very focused on just lots of robo production all game, which they did a splendid job of getting a crazy amount of Mortals and Colossus out so fast. But because they didn't have much of a follow-up, me being pinned back like this didn't work to their advantage. Normally, delaying a 2-base tank all in this long, like my opponent did, would allow them to get charge, double upgrades, lots of Zealots and Archons, and then when I finally get to their side of the map, they just A-move and kill my whole army really easily. But Stalkers are very bad units. So Nemesis made a big mistake by making Mass Stalker. A handful of Stalkers is not a bad idea. But going for Mass Stalker, the longer the game goes against siege tanks, it's okay if you can catch the tanks unsieged, and against a lot of lower level players you will, but obviously I'm just a bit too good with my siege tanks with like, and my awareness here of realizing, hey, this guy wants to ambush me. If I'm caught with my tanks unsieged, my bio is going to get shredded by Colossus and force fields. The Immortals will shred the tanks. Like, I cannot afford to get caught unsieged. So I was just super patient, and Nemesis basically walked into my tanks 6, 7, 8 times in this game. And it was me by being super patient that won this game. If I was any other silver or gold Terran, I get impatient, I unsiege, I walk into this army and get my ass kicked. So it was actually a pretty clever way that Nemesis played to counteract the siege tank style, and they even shuffled the observer over. But remember what I did with queuing that drop across? Because the moment someone's waiting for me to move out and catch me on siege, I basically send out distractions. And I don't even micro this, but look at how much damage it does anyway, guys. Look at that. I didn't stem it. I didn't micro it. Kills a Stalker. It kills 11 probes, a Stalker. It wastes my opponent's APM. My opponent pulls their whole army home temporarily. They have to keep warping in units at home. The Disruptor has to fire. Their probes are all off mining. And arguably, I should have scanned to kill the Observer, right, guys? So this is something I didn't actually think to do in the game. The biggest mistake here was if your opponent's trying to ambush you all game as Protoss, and it seems like they always know where you are, scan above your army, get rid of the Observer, and then maybe send a double or a triple drop across the map. Something to really say, okay, as long as you're pinning me here, I'm going to punish you. Imagine if I sent 3 Medivacs and actually microed it. Stim in, kill the whole base. That's going to force him to recall, and when he recalls, we can grab our whole army and move it across. And our opponent's army was still very scary. 3 Colossus, 3 Immortals, a Disruptor. But if we can get sieged up, we outrange the whole army. Siege tanks have 13 range, and Colossus only have 10, even with the current bugs, so that's going to be rough for Nemesis. I'm in. Notice a lot of the bio is not even fighting there. If there was a lot of Zealot Archon, the bio would be a lot more useful. But in this case, all we needed to do was chill. Wasn't it a scary moment to unsiege the tanks? No, because I saw his army. So remember, when I unsieged all the tanks, I had the watchtowers at this point. So I saw his army move back. His army can't really be anywhere. Technically, he could have doubled around and been like right here. But even then, he's going to have to go like around these ledges to get on top of me. So remember, moving those Marines out, using that shift deselecting was really big, even though I misclicked this one, so he's not. I even scanned ahead before unsieging everything to make sure. So I unsieged only after checking that he's not still out here. Yeah, so I was pretty safe at that point. Here, he could have been on me, and I would have had to react pretty quickly. But we scan again in a second. Like, notice I pull back. I send some Marine spotters out ahead of my army to check what's going on. So I get vision, and then when I see where his army is, that's when I make my decision. And I'm doing no macro at this stage of the game. It was all just controlling my army. If you spent all game building a giant army, how you use that army is going to decide the victory. Adding a random upgrade or queuing up some buildings is not really important. If you can squeeze it in, that's great. But if you're not a super fast player, it's more important to use this army correctly. GG's. All right, guys, let's go. We've got ourselves a Terran versus ZERG. Look at this, one of each matchup to start off Silver Part 2. Good to see. Let's do it. Let's try and play nice and slow, guys. I've been slowing down a lot on the army control, but I'd like to play slower on the macro and then maybe speed up a little on the army control the next few games, because I feel like I've been playing ridiculously slow on the army control, and I think you guys can play a little faster than that for sure. So especially once you get a bit of experience, like first time in any situation, you're always going to be a little bit slower because you're kind of like, oh, the cogs are turning, you're figuring things out. But once you've been in a situation a few times, even less experienced players, I think, are more than capable of doing quite well. So, oops, I didn't have the money for that gas. So there we go. Build the gas. And of course, hot tip, guys, you can use the rally point for this SCV if you want. It's a bit fancy because then you've got to set the rally point back, quickly select the SCV, put it onto, and then shift click it around. So you see where that's more of a high level maneuver. If you're slow, you don't do things like that. But you'll see pros do stuff like that all the time because they've got the speed to do it. And you're like, the SCV pops out like closer to where he wants to scout and that sort of stuff. So you can kind of see why players at pro level do these things and why you absolutely don't want to do them unless you do become very fast. And that's something that's always important to remember in StarCraft, is playing to your own skill level. Watch pros, draw inspiration from them, copy parts of what they do, but never, ever, ever just mindlessly do everything someone else does, because it might not fit with your skill set, what you're focusing on. More important than anything in StarCraft is like having goals and understanding what you're trying to do at each stage of the game. If you're like, yeah, I'm trying to do this and then this, you'll get way better. And actually, a lot of people, like, I show you guys like, hey, you're missing SCV production, that's not good. Or your build order's a little off, that's not good. That stuff really doesn't matter very much if you've got a clear direction of where you're going in your build and what you're trying to achieve. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, is because they if they don't have that, they're like,
add-on complete.
Anyway, bring that home. There's an expansion, no worries. They basically, they're trying to copy things down to the letter without understanding why. And then the moment there's any unforeseen circumstance, it's like their brain kind of short circuits a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I've been there as well, guys. I've had my moments short circuiting, but those are the moments where you need to kind of think a little bit more about, hey, why am I doing this? Like, what's the real goal here? If there's a point in the game where you're freezing up, always go to that problem and think of, why am I freezing up here? It's always because you don't know exactly what to do, and that's totally natural. But what you can do is you can then say, well, I don't know what to do here. Okay, let's look at this in the replay and kind of scratch my chin a little bit and come up with a little list of what I should do next time I'm in that circumstance. If you do that, like, your improvement skyrockets so hard. But if you're just like obsessing over tiny details without any like kind of, I guess, goals or anything, things can get a little bit kind of confusing. Anyway, guys, keep building SCVs and mules. Let's queue up 2 SCVs at a time. Make sure we don't miss on that. Let's build that starport. Queue back to minerals. Shift 4. Select 4, build Tech Lab. And we can rally to the natural now as well. Let's put those Marines in the bunker. Keep building Marines. All right.
Command center has been upgraded.
First macro cycle, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4 SCVs. Drop a mule. And we want to go a couple Marines.
Add-on is up and running.
A siege tank. And remember, after this first siege tank is when Gary is going to start building. So first siege tank. And this is a TVZ, so we definitely want that wall off.
Will do.
All right. Sweet, guys. Queue up a few more SCVs. That first macro cycle is very slow because you don't have a lot of money. These first macro cycles, you're kind of like waiting for the money to come in as you're doing the macro cycle, and it's really awkward. Now, because this is TVZ, guys, you're Viking, you want to just scout around your base, remember. So we can just let it pop out, and then we're going to queue it around. If you want, you can start it here next to this pillar on your natural, because that's what we call the pervert pillar. Build a few more SCVs and mules. Marines, no tank, nothing there, and build another depot. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, that there is a Ravager. That is a high tier unit. We're going to go to the edge, build that. If you can cancel that, you get some money back, guys. Let's try and bring some SCVs down here to repair. Bring all the SCVs to repair, guys. We're going to do a macro cycle. Build SCVs and mules, build Marines, build a tank. We're going to build a Liberator as well. Anything we can build right now, guys. Let's put all these SCVs on auto repair. And we're going to build 1, 2, 3 depots in the main. What do they just do, guys? A very advanced reaction. Cue them back. That you guys are not going to do. So what do we do? Number 1, we siege the tank because it wasn't sieged yet. Number 2, we cancel the depot. Number 3, we pulled a lot of SCVs to repair. Number 4, we put them on auto repair. We can now take that off and send them back.
Yep.
Number 5, we knew depots were dying and our depot production was being interrupted. So we built a lot more depots in the main to make up for it. Now, because we held on, I don't think we need these extra units necessarily, guys. We're just going to cancel that, build a reactor. Now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right click. Queue up more SCVs. Drop more mules. Now build more Marines. And because we've got these barracks, guess what, guys? Control click. We can build more tanks and whatnot. But the tanks are already there, so that's okay. We can now finish building that depot wall. Hopefully that doesn't die this time. And we can finish that and then go into the main to build more depots. Gary and Bruce, round 2, they get resurrected. We're going to A-move the zigzag. Remember the zigzag, guys, with the Viking?
Certainly.
So we're trying to get as much map vision as we can with that Viking and deny the opponent. Build a few more SCVs, drop some mules, build some Marines, build some tanks, and then depots. So queue more depots in the main, and then we can go double gas. And we can also get an engineering bay. Now, obviously, I'm still speeding up a lot, guys, at some points. Like just there, the double gas, the eBay, when I'm talking, I just do it so quickly. It's just coordination. Doof, 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 doof. Just as you get practice, you will get way better at doing this. It won't come overnight. Just be patient. So we've already got 45 SCVs, guys, so we don't really need any more. Put a few more guys on these gases. And tech lab, reactor. +1 weapons. And all right, guys. Last mule we're going to drop right now. Marines, tanks, Medivacs. Awesome. All right, guys. This is looking pretty good. We can lower these depots by control clicking that.
Add-on
A
is
few
up
more
and running.
depots, make sure those continue. And let's get stim and shields, which is pretty late. We did get quite delayed by that early push from our opponent, but they should be way behind. So we're both about a minute behind on everything. But I think because I've still macroed well, I should have a giant army. It's just going to move out a bit later than it normally does, okay? So there we go, guys. We want to build like a lot of Marines. Tanks, Medivacs. We don't have the gas in the Medivacs, so let's just queue up the depots. Queue up 2 depots each time. And then we can go back and queue the Medivac if we need. No worries. All right, we're doing good. Viking probably zigzagged a little bit much. We could have easily been on his side of the map by now with it, but that's all right. Let's control 2. Unload the bunker. Shift 2. Unsiege that tank. Shift 2. And let's send out just 2 Marines, guys. Right-click on the minimap. Shift deselect. Right-click on the minimap. Shift deselect. And then pull back. Next game, we're going to start doing that every game a lot more frequently. We're still in our first few games where we're more about the reordering of the barracks than anything else. So don't worry, guys. We'll get to that when we get to it. A few Marauders, a lot of Marines, a tank, a Medivac, and then we can go for some other stuff. Now, what do we see on the other side, guys? Looks like a Ravager Ling Bane army, mostly Ling Bane with just a few leftover roaches from the early game. Your depots go down, finish that macro cycle.
We're done.
Remember, What I just did was a very advanced thing, guys. I saw a unit getting attacked, so I glanced at the minimap, but I was in the middle of a macro cycle. And then I went home and I resumed the macro cycle because I knew I just queued up Medivacs and I had to build depots. So you might not be able to remember that. This is what we call your shopping list in StarCraft. You always want to be able to add new tasks to the end of the shopping list where you're like, oh, I can't do that right now, but I really need to do that. So you go, you do something else, look at my Viking, guess what? I didn't finish the macro cycle. That's on the shopping list. Why not? Because I didn't have the minerals. So then I go back and I finish the macro cycle. That's an advanced mechanic. Most of you, I would advise, don't do this. I would advise just sit there, wait for it, build the depots, then go look at the Viking, right? That's going to be a little bit better because it's going to maintain that organization. What I'm showing here is a sneak peek into what you're going to do in the future as you get a lot more practice with it. If you start doing it now, it's not going to be good. Shift 2, shift 2, shift 2, guys. It's go time, baby. Concussive is done, stim's done. Let's rally to the bottom. Marauders, Marines, tanks, and medevacs. We're going to move out across this map, but guess what? We don't have much vision, guys. So, oh my god, that's what we were worried about. Siege the tanks. I did that really fast. I should have just sent a scout out ahead of time, guys. We're going to stim our whole army. Now, we didn't run back, but we really should be trying to spread the bio out a little bit here. And that's why, what should I have done there instead of moving out the way I did? Because he cleared up my scouts really well. We should have gone right-click, shift deselect, right-click, shift deselect, right-click, shift deselect. Come home. Remake our army, control 2. Okay, there's no one there. Then we can move out, right? And then we can move forward to our push position, which we're going to try and siege here. Okay? But otherwise, you're going to stumble into their army. And this is why that's so overdue. I accidentally just stimmed. That's a mistake, guys. All right, guys. More Marines, more Marauders, more tanks, more medevacs. See his armies there. So we're going to control-click the tanks and siege them. We're going to stim. We're actually going to... I was going to run away with the bio, but instead we're just going to spread it out. Slow pig. Mouse accuracy. All right. Now he might backstab me, right? So if you're in danger of dying, guys, make sure you rally up here. This is so few units. I got some units on the low ground. I want everything else on the high ground. Because if he has to blow up here and then run up the ramp, he's not getting in. But otherwise, he can blow up the natural much easier. So just be wary of that. That is a problem people have. All right, guys, let's move forward. Gonna move these tanks down here. Move some bio forward. There's a lot of Ling Bane, guys. There's a lot of Ling Bane, but look at how well spread my bio is. Move those tanks forward. We're going to move a medevac up here to get some high ground vision. This medevac's going to go here. We just want a little bit more bio forward there. You can see he's still there, so I think we're going to bring some reinforcements, more Marauders and Marines. Shift box, shift left box, shift 2, lower the depots. These guys, I'm not going to select my whole army and move. A lot of people would do that here. They say they're on the army, why not move the whole army? Because we'd break formation. Speaking of the devil, select whole army, press stim. Ooh-wee! No A move. Remember, guys, just press stim, hands off the mouse and keyboard. All right, now we can move forward. So let's unsiege our tanks. We're going to try and move much further forward, including this army at home. Shift 2. More Marauders, more Marines. We're going to move up really deep, because I don't think there's any banelings. We're going to siege the tanks there, and then we can kind of spread the bio out a little bit, okay? Right now, the more you spread it, the more effective it is versus banelings, okay? And take this tank, move that forward there. Take that tank, move that forward over here. Anytime you can tuck them in a little corner like that, lings can't really get on them. Move that tank there, move this tank here. Keep spreading this bio out. This reinforcement has just clumped everything up a little bit. And that takes a long time to set up, but that's okay. Just raise that at home. This is probably going to backstab. More Marauders, more Marines. And notice we're in range of the rally point now. And this is where you just do this, guys. Grab a few bio units. Stim them. Grab a few bio units. Stim them. So we can just run back to the tanks, remember? Anytime those guys chase, and select the whole army, press stim. And these guys can just go over there.
Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to A-move them to the top left, because he's probably got a base up there as well. Oh, he actually doesn't. Okay, I'll just leave him there. So now we can just keep moving these armies forward. Remember, you take position, and it's their job to fight you. Shift 2, more Marauders, more Marines, tanks, and we can build Liberators, because I think we have plenty of medevacs. GG, I fall. GG, well played. Now, obviously, we can put a bit more attention into moving those tanks forward, but you're going to notice most players are so stressed out once you're between their rally points. It's more important to just keep spending your money and reinforcing your army. It's nice if I was also going, okay, move a tank forward, right? Okay, let's take that tank, which never sieged up properly. It was meant to siege down there, remember? It didn't because it got blocked by the units. This tank, we could move forward. We could siege this. Actually, on this map, there's like a really disgusting spot, especially if they're on Ling Bane. Or if you're attacking from this right side, you can get like wedged in there. And then you can actually put like a tank there as well. And ZERG basically just has to give up their natural. It's super, super disgusting. There's a few really dirty tank spots on this map. So if you're pushing from this right side, you kill this base. You can put tanks there, and Ling Bane just cannot get rid of those tanks. It's impossible. It's such a brutal position, man. You can just kind of poke in and be really annoying. But anyway, those are pretty good TVZ, guys. Furious Crab tried to do a nice little Roach Ravager pressure, and I really think the big thing we got out of this game was how we defended that. So this is actually really, really important, guys. So I always like to, at the bottom of each section, write a few notes on how to defend stuff, right? So let's go back and let's benchmark. What was this pressure that we dealt with? I think it was about 3:30, 4 minutes. I think it was like meant to be a Lambo 5 Roach pressure or something like that. Felt like it wasn't executed too poorly. It was pretty slow compared to a pro gamer timing. It was pretty damn sick for a silver gold build, man. Well played. Oh, that was T-Bish in the chat. Well done, dude. You played really well. All right, guys. So we had basically at 4:20 a bunch of Roaches and Ravages. Furious Crab made the big mistake of moving all the way in rather than moving to the staging point, grouping up, and then going in. So Furious Crab gave me a big warning of what was coming. Right? So what could I have done a bit quicker, guys? Well, I could have pulled some SCVs to repair a bit quicker there. Would have been a really good call. But essentially, 4 minutes 20, these units come in. I'm going to put this down on slower than normal game speed so you guys can watch my reaction as I write the notes in the bottom of this section. And if you guys open the B2GM doc, it's in the description. Check on the left of that screen. It has like the whole thing. There's all little subheadings. So this is going to be 8 Roach Ravager pressure. Ravager 4 minutes 20 pressure, right? And that's going to be what was this on? Royal Blood. Okay. So what did we do, guys? So we basically siege tank on edge, if not already sieged. Now, I'm going to add a little sub point there, guys. What if my opponent had an Overlord? They flew that in here for high ground vision, and they had 3 Ravagers. Those Ravagers could run here, corrosive bile the tank. That'd be a big problem. So, what might be a little safer there is actually putting the siege tank here. Or like here or something, like, you know, a bit further back, so it's like really hard for them to get in. The problem is if the siege tank isn't far enough forward to actually shoot the Ravagers, they can basically just constantly bile your bunker and the tank isn't going to stop them from doing it. So there is a give and take here. Now, we have a Viking out. The Viking can move there to clear that Overlord, right? And keep us safe from that, but it's just something to be wary of. I would say, people are like, oh, so I should always be worried about that not siege on the edge? No, we're always going to siege on the edge. Just warning you, you're going to start at some point when people do pressures like this. They'll be a bit fancier by setting things up like that with the Overlord, and it might hurt you. I wouldn't worry about it for now, but it's just something for the future. And in those scenarios, you basically just put the tank in a more conservative position. Because especially if it's like a big all-in with speedlings coming behind it, so they're flooding in a real reinforce, which this guy wasn't. This guy was droning behind it. He was doing this as a pressure into a macro follow-up. Repair bunker plus put SCVs on auto repair. So all you need to do is right click on the bunker once it's taken damage, but if you put them on auto repair, which is, remember, Alt plus the repair hotkey. Alt plus repair hotkey. That'll do the trick. What else did we do, guys? I didn't actually pull my Marines to the front. We probably would have if we got to it. Pull Marines to the front. Keep behind bunker, if possible. I didn't get to do that this game. Rebuild depots in the back of main base. What else did I do before all that, though? I actually queue up tank plus liberator, because I was like, I don't know how committed this is. This could be a crazy all-in. So we queued up more fighting units. The problem is those units couldn't start building because we were supply blocked, because of our depot wall being out front there, in front of our bunker, and being a bit of a free kill for our opponent. Yeah. All right. Isn't this tank in an odd position because it allows an opening on the left side? Yep, but it's going to keep you alive. Remember, if there's an opening, what's that going to do? They could run past and get your SCVs. Your SCVs can just pull away. The most important thing in StarCraft is not dying, right? So if he runs past around the left, it's annoying, but we can always reposition the tank as needed. The most important thing is not dying. And this is why, in general, just put the tank on the edge of the cliff. It's usually the safest location. But depending on the situation, you can adjust it and adapt it based on what you feel works. But if you always put the bunker in the tank at the front, a lot of people put the bunker there, they'll put the siege tank here. Ravagers run up, bile the tank, it gets one shot off. They bile the bunker, it's game over, right? Whereas the tank on the high ground's a little bit harder to do that. But likewise, hey, you get lots of people doing the Ravagers, biling with the Overlord, spotting the high ground. Maybe you put the tank back here. So it's just like a reserve tank, right? So it's always up to you guys to adapt based on the meta and what works for you. But I think this is a good one-size-fits-all for now. What is bio? Bio is biological units. Basically, there's barracks-focused Terran play is bio play. You're building Marines and Marauders as the base of your army. Usually with Medivacs from the starports, and then either Widow Mines or siege tanks from a single factory, or maybe two factories as the game goes longer. Whereas Mech, you're only building a few Marines at the start out of your starting barracks. You're not building any more barracks for the rest of the game. You're building lots of factories and maybe starports, and you're only building mechanical units. Things like siege tanks and the like. Yeah. So yeah, moving these spotting units out is really important, guys. If I got my army moving out a little earlier, that would have been really nice. And we might think, man, I was so delayed because of myself being distracted by the attack. But you can see that my opponent here was only on 48 workers as well. So the opponent never got an economy advantage over me. I was just looking for the big old ambush, and that's about it. I definitely should have sent a few more Marine spotters out, and then I wouldn't have been as surprised. Because I reacted very quickly here when I moved out and saw his army. If he just A-moved on me, and if I reacted with a true Silver League player's reaction speed, I would have been dead. And that's why in the next games, we are going to be always getting way more map vision and fighting for that map vision. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back. Fourth game now. Just had a little bathroom break there after the last one. And we are going to be doing map control. It's all about putting Marines out. We're up against a 2500 MMR Terran by the name of Callison. We're playing on the USD server, so it's going to be a little laggy. I think they're from Europe, so we've just tried to accommodate them a little bit so they're not too thrown off. And essentially what's good is this is TVT, and TVT is the best possible matchup when it comes to trying to actually get out the spotters on the map. Because they don't have zealots that just destroy your single Marines on the map, and they don't have anything like that. I mean, they might have some Hellions and Reapers and stuff, but as the game goes on, there's almost always, even at pro level, an actual battle for map control. Whereas against PROTOSS and ZERG, you won't see top-level Terrans do this by putting Marine spotters all around the map like we're going to. So you might think, well, that's a noob thing. I don't want to learn a noob thing. No, this is actually like one of the most important skills you need to develop as a Terran player and as a StarCraft player in general. And this is all going to be about the shift deselect mechanic, okay? So orbital command center, reactor starts as well on the barracks, just using our hotkey for that.
Big job, huh?
Can mine 5 minerals while we're waiting here to get that 400. SCV scouts there, no worries. And we're just gonna shift 7, set the camera location, as well as the rally point, no worries. Get the depot going. Notice there, guys, camera hotkey 1, select an SCV, camera hotkey
Command
6,
center has been upgraded.
my rally point, build the depot. Just a cute little thing that I do, like using those camera hotkeys. I just like to point out how I use them, just so you understand. Whenever I quickly go doof and jump between a few commands, just so you understand what I'm doing. If you guys learn camera locations, if you're in that minority of players and start doing, you don't need to. You really don't need to. You can do it your own way as well. It's more important to just kind of improve in your own way at your own pace. So don't stress over it. We will build a bunker at the front. Got some Marines started. And so far I've done a pretty high level build, so let's slow down a little bit. And just chill out. Build another SCV, build another 2 Marines. So just one or two SCVs at a time for the early stages, you know. Just every now and then just tapping it. We're not really doing macro cycles yet. We're just kind of frequently selecting it, queuing up another SCV, queuing up another few Marines, lowering the depot. But what we're going to do as time goes on, let's first of all put these guys control 2, so we can easily put those in the thing later. Let's build a starport and then queue it back to minerals. We're going to select the starport, shift 4, select 4, build tech lab. Gonna make an orbital command center. Another SCV, drop a mule. Another SCV, another SCV. I'm so broke that I keep trying to press the button and not having enough minerals, which is why I kept saying that. Because I could see I wasn't actually doing it. Now we can put these Marines in the bunker.
Add-on is up and running.
And we can keep building SCVs, build siege tanks, build Marines. And we can set the rally point to the natural now. So okay guys, first macro cycle. Queue up to make sure we've got at least 2 SCVs queued on each. Drop a mule. Build a few more Marines. Tank's already building. Oh, we forgot to get Gary going, guys. Let's go that. That SCV was following the mule, so I just made sure my rally point was on the minerals. If you accidentally click it on an SCV or mule, they'll all just follow that unit and they won't mine, and that's obviously not what you want, guys. So there we go. Viking starts up. All right, guys, so what we want to start getting used to doing, get that siege tank over there, is control 2 on our army. We're going to do this a lot more frequently as time goes on, but for now, let's put our first spotters on the map. So we're going to start with just 2 spotters. We're going to put one here, right click, shift, left click. Let go of shift, right click, shift, left click. We're now going to right click home, control 2. So notice what I did. I just sent 2 spotters out and removed them from my hotkey. Let's get back to doing a macro cycle. You're going to really mess up your build when you're learning a new mechanic like this. It's not a bad idea to practice this mechanic for about 10 minutes just in a custom game over and over until you get the hang of it, and then go from there. So let's build these 2 depots. We've got the Vikings. We're building Marines and SCVs. Okay, so we've got lots of SCVs and Marines queued up. We've got depots queued up. That's a full macro cycle, but we're missing now 4 barracks. Reactor should be building as well. Now this is where we can also go, okay, build a few more SCVs, mules, Marines, and now we can get another tank. And we can build some more depots. Probably don't need a wall off because it's TVT, but that's okay. They're going to be queued up into the main base, remember? Could have used the minimap for that. Just showing you guys where I'm clicking. Double gas. Build the engineering bay. Alright. Control click the barracks. Shift 5. And time for another macro cycle, guys. Last 2 SCVs. Build some mule. Marine. Siege tank. Medivacs. We're going to send our Viking through our opponent's base to scout. Notice the map control, guys. So we can glance at our minimap, and we're going to see if an attack comes out now. How good is that map control? Let's control group our army. Control 2. And let's just put a few more spotters out. Right click, shift, left click. Let go of shift. Right click, shift, left click. Bring it on. And you don't need to look. I'm just showing you guys where I'm clicking, but normally I would just use the minimap. Tech lab, reactor, reactor. All right, guys, we just spent a lot of time doing other stuff. We've got to do macro cycles. Drop mules, build Marines, build tank, build Medivacs, build depots. Come on, get these depots going. Let's go. All right. Now we can put guys on gas here. We can get +1 weapons. We desperately need to get stim and shield started. Looks like our Viking died, guys. And our opponent, we didn't see a 3rd command center. So unless it's down here, we're just going to go shift, click there and there. What did we see? We saw 2 engineering bays, so our opponent is going double upgrades, but otherwise they're doing the same sort of build as us. They're just 1 barracks short, but otherwise same stuff. All right, guys, let's get stim and shields and then do a macro cycle. Marauder, Marines, tanks, and then Medivacs. I don't have the gas for the Medivacs yet, but we'll get those soon. Depots to finish the macro cycle off. Very nice. What's going on? Very nice. Let's queue up more depots straight away to make sure we don't forget, okay? We're saving scans for when we do move out. Let's box these guys at the rally. Shift 2, move them to the low ground. I accidentally loaded that tank up, so just what we can do there is you click the Medivac and you just drop left click on the ground. No worries. Box it, shift 2. So let's send some more scouts out. Let's imagine these guys died. Right click, shift, left click. Let go of shift, right click, shift, left click, let go of that. Control 2 to remake the army, bring it home. So notice we've sent those guys out. Now, essentially what we're doing here,
nothing left in that
let's do a big macro cycle and I'll talk you through it again. More Marauders, more Marines, a tank, Medivacs, concussive. Shift 2. Depot. Finish the macro cycle. All right, so what we're doing here, guys, is we're giving everyone an order, and then we are removing those that we want to keep the order. So for instance here, if we want to put back on gas, it's really hard to select just 3 workers, even for me. And I've got way better mouse accuracy than you guys do. So what you do is you just grab a whole bunch of workers. You say, everybody, get the gas. Doesn't matter how fast you do this. Hold down shift, left click, left click, left click to deselect 3 workers. Those are the guys that are going to keep that order. We let go of shift. Everything that's remaining, we can now move around. And notice there's 3 dudes on gas. So we can go right click on the other gas, left, shift, left click, left click, left click, let go of shift, click whatever's left on the minerals. Beautiful. And that's what you'll see pros do in the blink of an eye. Build 4 marauders, lots of marines, tanks, and medevacs. Now this has really slowed down our macro, but that's okay. Box these guys, sell the bunker, box shift 2, shift 2, shift 2. Now we lost our vision, guys, so we're gonna move these forward. Shift left click, move here, shift left click, move here, shift left click, then we're gonna come back and control 2. So we've sent some marine scouts out. I'm gonna grab this guy, bring him to the front. Let's get more depots. And it looks like we never set the rally point. So let's set that, box these guys, shift 2. Build marauders, build marines, build tanks, build medevacs, get +1 armor. We're just waiting for the 100 gas, holding that button down. Box, shift 2. Okay, let's move across the map for an attack, guys. Awesome. So notice how much more comfortable you can feel with all this map vision. We've got marines looking for drops. We've got marines out there. This is something we want to start doing every game, every matchup. Some games, you'll lose the units that are trying to scout. That's just StarCraft. That is what it is, right? And look at that. His army's moving out. So rather than stumbling into our opponent, guys, we can ambush him. Control click the tanks, siege them, stim, and attack move. Now he's running away, so we're going to have to run away when he sieges. We ate a big widow mine because my scan ran out. I thought they'd kill the widow mine, but the scan ran out at the worst possible time. And now, if his army's siege there, we can just go around the bottom, right? So we're going to go down here. While we're moving forward, we're watching his army, and we're going marauder, 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 marauder. Lots of marines. Tank, medevac. Scan. Alright, we can kill that widow mine. And let's move our tanks forward, guys. Alright, so let's spread our bio out. What do we swap to, guys? Viking production, okay? So Vikings, last depot we need before we don't need any more. Grab these guys and move them to the natural. More marauders, more marines, more tanks. Grab these guys, we can bring them forward as well. We can try to attack from a different angle if we want. So I'm gonna grab these guys and just move here for now. We'll go shift 2, but we'll see how we go. So it looks like he moved forward and tried to siege in range, but he didn't stim. Uh-oh, my guys. Ah, what do we do, guys? Hold position. Okay. Now, let's make sure we keep building medevacs. Vikings, sorry. And we leave a medevac out front so that we don't let him kill any tanks like that anymore. Just keep scanning for now. What we can do is we can just hold position that medevac there. Now this is kind of a standoff. We're trying to wait for him to make a dum-dum, right? So what can we do? Well, we can make a 3rd base and a 4th base. I don't have the money for the 4th yet, but this is just going to give us some ability to keep moving my workers around. So I'm just waiting for the money, guys. Remember, box those workers on the natural, build them both. Box these guys, shift 2. And does he have a 3rd base? He doesn't yet. Now, where's his army? We're scanning. Okay, so his army's there. Now I could just attack from the right and kill these tanks, right? Because his army's too far behind. Or we can get these guys in here. Now remember what happened last time? No tanks in the medevac. Not good, right? So what we want to do, if we do want to go for a doomy droppy, let's make sure the tanks get in first, and then you can click the other stuff inside. So, box all these guys, bring them down here to our main army, shift 2.
Now what?
And this can go past and unload in the back of the main, okay? Now let's go do some macro. Shift 7, shift 7. Let's get the armory and the engineering bay. Got a few more SCVs here. So we're doing kind of that late game transition, aren't we? Where we have to keep playing it. Now I technically could keep moving my tanks forward, but assuming your opponent's very good at scanning and stuff, it doesn't work. So with this one, we do want to get in there, and we're going to boost that. And what you want to do is you want to control click the tanks and siege them. You want to drop a scan ahead. You want to stim the bio and attack move it. Now this is not that big a drop. If we'd unloaded our whole army, we might have been able to kill him, but it doesn't work. What it does do is he's not watching, so we can stim and we can attack move his tanks on the front. And we did this in that other game as well. This is not a very fancy maneuver. There's part of me that's dying inside watching the way I'm microing this. Let's move our tanks forward on siege. Now he's got more bio than I do, so let's make sure these tanks are sieged. I didn't get them very far forward there. Should have unsieged them earlier. He's got 3-3 as well, so his bio is actually so much better than mine, guys. We're on 1-1, he's on 3-3. This is really scary. Let's make sure we use those upgrades. This is why you do need to get the armory engineering bay if your opponent knows how to upgrade. And this is something I noticed, but I didn't mention earlier. I said he has double engineering bay. I also saw the armory building earlier.
Are under fire.
Oh, look at that, guys. Okay, that's a problem. We've got some guys there. So what we want to do is just box the SCVs, run them away. Lots of Marines building, tank. More guys, run these guys away. I've got nothing at home right now, so this is very frustrating. He's going to kill a lot of stuff. Really well done by our opponent. We're just trying to set the rally point here, make sure they get enough Marines to do some stuff. Just run these SCVs away for now, just abandon that base. Get enough Marines to defend. That's still maybe not enough Marines because he's got 3-3. I really can't fight this, guys. These SCVs are going to run away. We're going to shift click them to run away. And what are we going to do to replace it? Hold down the command center key, hold down the SCVs, and rally there. Now let's scan the front, guys. If we can move these tanks in a little bit more, even with the upgrade difference, we might be able to get some more damage done. So let's just move them forward, siege them up, move the rest of the army forward. And he's going to jump on me. So this is a pretty bad fight for me, guys. We should have moved the bio forward earlier there. This is really nasty. Those tanks were protected by the bio. This would be very different. So we're going to grab the Medivacs. We're going to boost them home. More Marines, more tanks. Looks like our opponent got us through the power of upgrades, guys. The power of upgrades is very important in StarCraft. If I controlled that fight better, we would have been okay. But we tried to shove in a little bit stupidly there, because remember, he's only on 2 base. So we absolutely should be able to win this. Or we should have been able to, I should say. And he's going to try and boost in. Let's run the SCVs away. If you can cancel the SCVs and lift the command center and fly that away, that's really good. Because he's only on 2 base, if we just keep building tanks and Marines, we might be able to survive here. So we're going to try and hide that command center as well. Oh, he's just going to shove in, so we're going to have to pull the boys. Survive! Survive! Make sure you stim the Marines again. Just keep A moving. And behind it, what are we doing? We're building more SCVs, and we're going to keep dropping mules, guys. Back at the front, our opponent did some really nice stutter step there. They did a really good job of making 3-3 upgrades. So I actually think in hindsight, if we just kept pushing with our tanks, that probably would have been a better answer. Now, right-click here, and what you want to do is you want to click on the minerals, Control-Shift, left-click on the mules and SCVs, and then we can box these guys, remake the army. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and set up out here. Let's put some spotters out, move there, shift left click a Marine, move there, shift left click a Marine, move there, shift left click a Marine, and then pull back. And this command center is going to come out here to the natural. That command center is going to go there. And I really want to keep building just tanks and Marines because we've got plenty of Medivacs, plenty of Vikings. We've got good map vision, so we can't really get dropped to death. As long as I keep building SCVs, mules, and tanks, we can kind of just rally them there. Drop all these mules, drop as many mules as I can, because I got those 4 command centers, right? Command center there too. That gives you the opportunity to win games. Just make sure we see every path through the middle of the map, so we can see if our opponent comes out to attack us. Tanks are going to beat the upgrade advantage, and also +3 weapons is way more important than armor. So what we're doing is we're just building SCVs, we're building mules. Because we've got plenty of gas in the bank, we've got that mining there, that's all fine. Just keep dropping mules. Keep dropping mules. We have so many mules. Just keep building SCVs, mules, Marines, and tanks. And as long as we keep building that and sieging our tanks, we will close the upgrade gap, and our opponent might be very slow at expanding. So there's always a chance we can come back in. But we can't miss SCV production. So let's queue up as many SCVs as we can. Use this massive bank of mules we have for that. And we're also going to, I think, move this command center over. So notice we remove a few SCVs from the queue. We're going to move that there. So we can start taking that in the near future. We'll make +3 armor, and we'll also make +1 vehicle weapons. Keep queuing up more SCVs, more Marines. And I like to put my rally point further back, actually. I think that rally point's a bit further forward. So we're going to control-click the Marines, add them to the hotkey, Shift-2. And as the game goes late game in TVT, tanks are really important. So let's build a second factory, shift for that, and we'll get a tech lab on that when it's done. And for now, what are we doing? Rally to this base now, keep holding down the SCV key. And look, we're back up to 31 SCVs from about 10. And we're going to have 3-3 and +1 vehicle weapons. So that big upgrade differential that was getting our ass kicked is going to be disappearing. We can scan the front. We can see, oh, he's got a third too. See how big his army is. That's a big army, guys. Now, notice I'm not building Marauders. Why am I not building Marauders? Marauders are expensive and they're not as good as Marines in TVT. Why have we been building Marines? Because we're a noob. We're a noob. I've been getting you guys to build suboptimal units because they're more noob friendly. Let's be honest. If we want to make the comeback, we probably shouldn't make them, but we're going to go back on autopilot and build them because we're used to that. So why not? Why not, guys? Why not? Notice we're just not building units out of the starport because we can't afford it. Keep building SCVs, guys. Keep dropping mules here. And what I'm going to do as well
Add-on is up and running.
is we're going to send a scout down here. Shift click that scout. Let go of shift. We can hold down shift. Left click to deselect a marine. We can now do the same thing up here. Right click, shift right click. Deselect a marine by shift left clicking. Come home, control 2. Add these guys, shift 2. You guys are watching this and you're confused by all the shift clicking. Just remember, as we put guys back on gas a little bit, by the way. The most important thing to remember is to go in a unit tester or go in a custom game and just practice it yourself while you're watching the video. Check out the notes in the document where I explain it as well in more detail. You'll be good. Get +2 vehicle weapons, really important upgrade, guys. There's always the chance to come back. Now you might think that's just because this is Silver League. No, guys. Even in like as you go up the leagues, yes, the chances to come back get smaller. But even at pro level, people are always saying, "Oh, he threw this game, they threw that game," that sort of stuff. And
Mineral field
sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not. So let's grab a few Marines, guys. We're going to click this drop around the edge. We're going to drop that in the mineral line. We're going to dump. I'll put that on control group 3, so I can jump to my main army. Control 2. Jump to that if I want to drop micro it, but the aim is not to micro it, guys. All we're doing, more Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, and we're basically just waiting till we're maxed out. Because I know I'm behind. If you're really behind an opponent, but if you get max upgrades and then you max out your armies should be pretty close to even. If not, maybe your army's better. Take a few gases, because you can see my gas mining's getting a little bit low here, guys. I guess we can take a few more SCVs and put them on these gases. And we can also build some more command centers. So what we're going to do, box the SCVs, go to the 5th base camera location. And this one doesn't have a camera location, so I'll have to manually build that. Now look at that. If your opponent sends little squads of Marines around, so you might need to go, okay, well, he sent 3 Marines. We're going to A move, shift deselect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move home, control 2. And that's going to kind of fight the vision. Now look, I didn't actually micro this at all, guys. But look at that huge disruption. Just queuing a drop in is so big. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to tell that to unload there.
We've exhausted a best
and then
geyser.
What can we do to get rid of it, guys? Right, if you don't have the dumping key, just select your army, shift left click, and then control 2. That's another way of getting rid of a drop as well, depending on what you prefer. All right, guys, more Marines building. We've got that tank. These guys all coming together. And we're going to try and push this front base. So we're going to move here. Now notice that sensor tower vision. You want to wait outside the sensor tower vision. The idea is the drop's going to distract him, and then we're going to push forward and kill this base. Will it work? I have no idea. I also don't have much of a follow-up, so you could argue we should be scanning to make sure there's not like, I don't know, battle cruisers building or something like that, but we wouldn't have much we could do even if there was. So we're just waiting out here right now, guys. The idea is the drop's going to try to distract him. Looks like his army's all there. So there we go. And this is where we move in. So this is just a classic 1-2 punch. Send the drop to make sure we don't run into his army. Just scan ahead, make sure we're not running into anything. We can stim, attack move, and then we can control click the tanks, siege them up. Alright. So, what are we going to do, guys? Pull back the bio, spread it out. Put a Medivac down there, and a Medivac there. Let's hop to Viking production, as we do whenever we're doing this sort of push. And we've just destroyed 1, 2, 3 bases of mining in one move. This one queued up 2 minutes ahead of the actual push itself as well. So what do we do when we've got position, guys? We wait for him to make mistakes. So keep building tanks here. Let's make +3 vehicle weapons, Marines. Oh, my bio is getting baited, guys. All right, let's remember to hold position the bio, shall we? All right, let's... These guys, we're going to hold position. Let's control click the Vikings and put those out front as well. Scan just to make sure he's not like doom dropping me or something like that. These guys will hold position there, okay? So what can we do? We can go orbital, shift, command center alt key, set the rally point. Go to the other base, Orbital, shift 7, add the rally point, set the rally point to a base. We can also just control click idle workers, but you can jump around and see if a base is oversaturated, because sometimes they're all mining from like one mineral patch. And we're just using shift boxing to take any extra workers, send them here, and we can build a few more workers as well. Now, how do we get him out of this game? I guess this drop can continue. So we click that in that base, and we can probably move some tanks forward. Remember, I didn't do that very well before. Oh, I never dealt with that window line, did I? All right, we're building more Marines, more siege tanks right now. That drop is in there. He's kind of just sitting there. I don't actually have that many tanks, so I'm really focusing on tank production right now. These guys are all going shift 2, and they're just coming to the front. I guess I can move these Marines forward to kill that. And you can tell my opponent's struggling with all of the tasks because we're in Silver League. So this is a pretty crazy comeback that comes off the back of me having insane knowledge compared to my opponent. But it just shows that if your opponent's on 2 base for that long, you know, they don't have that much money. And because they didn't really ever push me, that was their problem. They had a big window where they could have pushed and killed me, but they focused on trying to macro and expand. No matter how good your macro is or whatever, you've always got to go and use your advantage while it's still there. Otherwise, things can fade away over time. All right, tank's going to siege up. We're going to start moving our tanks forward, guys.
What's our target?
A Vespene geyser's been tapped out.
And keep scanning ahead a little bit as well. All right, so check it out. We can move these guys forward now. Let's move those 4 tanks forward. Oh, he's coming for me. Oh, is he though? Is he? Oh, I think he's just kind of blocked there. So just keep the Vikings back. We're kind of baiting him in right now. Hold position those Vikings so they don't run too far away, guys. I'm actually going to unsiege 5 tanks here, which is very dangerous. So just drop a scan, make sure, because we need to instantly siege if he comes forward.
A Vespene geyser's been tapped
Move the Vikings forward a little bit. More tanks and more Vikings is the real goal here, guys. We're going to stem an A move. Now you might want to start a step forward here to make sure they get in there, but that's a high-level maneuver, so we're not going to risk it. Ooh! Crazy game there from Callison. Callison showing that even with a 2-base build, the more it drags on, the power of upgrades can be absolutely insane. And me getting wrecked by an 8 Marine drop because I was maxed out and didn't have Marines building, this actually shows you a really common weak point. For most of this game, I'm completely safe against drops. I'm killing it. And then this drop comes in. Unfortunately, Callison didn't queue it to unload, or it could have hit even earlier. I have no idea how long this was in my main base for. I didn't even notice this, guys. That's so funny. But because I was maxed out, I don't have any units sitting at my rally point other than a few Vikings. So I didn't have anything that could have fought this. Now, arguably, I could have just landed the Vikings and fought with the SCVs. I kind of just felt like normally that's a bit advanced, and normally you'd rather just gather Marines together, stim A move. But yes, 3 Vikings landed with the SCVs tanking for them would have stopped this from doing so much damage. My triple drop in the back was pretty bad, to be honest. I think I would have been better off just inching my tanks forward little by little. This was a brilliant maneuver though. You distract with the drop in the back, you do clear all their tanks out. If I'd moved my tanks forward a little bit quicker and just kind of hugged this edge, that would have been fantastic. But this drop comes in and it ruins us, right? And it's just because we don't have any units building. We only just traded our army. And because we were focusing on micro, we hadn't queued up new units yet. So this was great micro by Callison. These 3-3 Marines versus my 1-1 with 2-2 just started. Gets 25, 27 SCVs, 28 SCVs, and then ruins my army on the front. And this is where Callison really should have just come and won the game, I believe. And they did try to, but if they just doom dropped in my main, I think that would have been a great way to do it. That probably would have been the best way to do it. As it is, if they just went around and killed my command centers, that would have been okay. Pretty damn good for the skill level we're at, the way they did that. I do think if they clicked another depot down, that would have been slightly better. They did pretty good aggressive starter step though, and then defensive starter step, which I was like blown away by. I was like, man, this defensive starter step's really good. And you can tell Callison doesn't have much macro behind it, and generally the macro chops aren't that good, but the micro and the upgrades were fantastic, and some really good movement with the bio was like just amazing as well. Definitely just needed to like expand a little bit faster here as well behind it. I still think could have killed me if there was like just another army coming behind that one because I was so fragile. I was down to 5 SCVs versus 42. Callison does a really good job here of queuing up a whole lot of command centers at once, right? 2 command centers. But Callison doesn't move the workers out of the main. So what Callison needed to do here was select all idle workers or just box these and then shift box those guys. Click them on that base, click half of them on one of these bases already because you've got way too many workers for it. And then just basically stay on the same worker count, but just keep making Marine tank and you've got the game. The problem here is Callison decides to go mass barracks factory starport, which at the skill level Callison's at, they don't need to do. Callison's out of money already. Callison just needs to drop mules there, which they did, and split the SCVs across 2 bases and just keep building off the production they have. So all this extra production is just unnecessary. If you're on 6 bases that are saturated, go for it. Add all this production. But for most players out there, just the 2 base production of 5 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport used frequently will be good. So the general rule there though, because a lot of people, I think they make this mistake all the time. So this is a really good lesson we get from Callison, which is, okay, my army's dead. I look at home, I'm floating a lot of money. Well, if you're floating money, you should build extra production. And that is a really good rule. So let's look at the decision. He goes command centers, queues up some Marines, and then goes, well, I'm still floating thousands of resources. That means I don't have enough production. Incorrect. There's a few reasons here. Number one, there's no mining happening right now. You're completely out of resources. That's a big problem, right? But the bigger problem is you haven't even queued up Marines. So if you've queued up as two full rounds of Marines, Marauders, 2 siege tanks, 4 Medivacs, or 4 Vikings or whatever, guess what? That bank is, you don't even have enough bank to do that. 1,000 minerals doesn't do that. Because on 5 barracks, if you queue up 20 Marines, that alone is 500 minerals. 2 siege tanks is another 300 minerals. You can't afford it all, right? So you got to realize that if you queue up a full macro cycle and then you still have 2,000 resources in the bank, that's when you want to build extra production. But you want to make sure you do the macro cycle first and foremost. Really good play by Callison though. If they're a bit faster on rebuilding, they could have killed me, I think, at 3 at this point. Because remember, guys, what was I producing? SCVs. There's a little gap here when I was just getting situated. And then I said, okay, well, if we're trying to recover, it's got to be nothing but SCV production with some Marines and tanks mixed in. And I basically just go SCVs, 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 and I'm slowly trying to recover. And I'm very lucky that I got the time to do it. And if you look at the production tab, you can see most of the barracks and factories were idle for most of this time. The factories do start queuing up tanks pretty well here, which is awesome. But not that many Marines queuing up. Yeah, which is a big problem because remember, those Marines build in 18 seconds. So they've started good Marine production here, but then it freezes up. And then only 1 Marine queues up. Whereas you should be queuing, if you've got 4 reactors, 5 reactors, you should be queuing 20, 30 Marines at a time until you're a much faster player. And if that happened, I mean, we would have got destroyed by a big A move potentially. Even here, if Callison, when they maxed out, moved out, I think we probably would have died in this game. Let's take a look. Let's see. So my upgrades were catching up. I was getting my own 3-3. I was back up to almost even in workers. And I was still down about 20 supply, but because Callison, I think, just got distracted by that Marine maybe, and didn't really have a move out time, and Callison sat back for too long, whereas you should be moving out well before you're maxed. Because if you're maxed out ahead of your opponent, but then you don't move out, your opponent's getting time to close that gap. So if he moved out at 180 supply, pushed in, got a siege up position, you know, maybe sends a drop or something, or sends half the army to attack here, half the army to attack here if you want to play a bit more of a mobile style, that would have been very difficult for me to deal with. But for me, what really saved my bacon was the fact that I built those 2 extra command centers. Those 2 extra command centers banking energy meant I had the ability to just dump mules like crazy, and that absolutely saved me in this game. All right, guys, we're playing another game here against another, I believe, gold player, Hoss, low gold. I think we played Hoss last week as well. It's another TVT, so a lot of TVT here. Hopefully we do get a few more ZERGs and PROTOSSes towards the second half of today. And I've realized in that last game, obviously deselecting units away from your army control group is kind of hard to learn when you haven't actually gotten used to control grouping your army. So I was planning today to do a few games in a row of really focusing on the deselecting for map control, and then to focus on on control grouping the army after that. I've realized it's the wrong way around, so we need to make sure we focus on both at once. We're just going to do control grouping the army more regularly and spreading the units out on the map, and it's just going to be the best way to do it, essentially. So, as long as we periodically box our units at our rally point, chuck them on Army 2, we can then send those scouts on the map. Now, this is a pretty small map, but it's another TVT, so it is kind of perfect for putting these spotters on the map. I like doing it against every race. I think we saw against ZERG and PROTOSS, you might not maintain map vision, but if you don't send those spotters out, you're going to get ambushed, right? You're going to get ambushed way too much, man. All right, guys, let's go. Get out of me. This is my expansion, bro. All right, just hanging right now. My mineral seems a bit low. Whatever. Sometimes if my mineral's a bit low, I might look back and just check that my SCVs are all mining, or there isn't an SCV like following another SCV in my mineral line. Can happen. Drop mule, build SCV, and expansion for our opponents. We can bring our SCV home. Should have used the hotkey for that one, eh? Right, let's make sure all our camera locations are good, guys. 3rd base, 4th base, and 5th base. Start building marinas here. They're not called marinas, we're just calling them that. I don't know why. I remember someone used to call them that, and I got really triggered. I thought it sounded really dumb. But I have a psychological defect where basically if I think something's really, really incredibly stupid, it gets stuck in my brain and then I start doing it. It's some sort of disease. I don't know if there's like a name for this condition. Idiot. I think it's called idiot or moron. I'm not quite. It's one of those. Anyways, we're gonna build more Marines and more SCVs here, guys. Obviously, just defensive for now. We'll see what happens.
SCV ready.
Put guys on gas. All right, what do we got, guys? Orbital command center on the natural. So nice having a lovely pro gamer, I guess former pro gamer technically in the chat, by the way. Thanks for hanging out, Probe. Anyone with PROTOSS questions, hit that man up. We're going to select our army, put it on number 2. We're going to build a tech lab and a starport. And we're just building more SCVs. I should be talking a little bit more about all these basics I'm doing, guys. Sorry. Talking about a few too many other things. Let's talk about the basics. So let's set the rally point. First macro cycle. Queue up 4 SCVs. Drop as many mules as we can. Build 2 Marines.
Add-on is
I want to build a siege tank. What do we do after building the siege tank? We conscript Gary. Gary thought his life was going to be that of an average mineral miner, but he's actually going to be building depots. Now, we actually don't need a wall off because it's TVT, so let's go build the rest of the depots in the main. Build a few more SCVs there, and you know what, guys? Might as well get some scouts. So Control 2, right-click on the minimap, Shift left-click, right-click on the minimap, Shift left-click, right-click on the minimap, Shift left-click, Control 2, and right-click the remaining units home. Beautiful. All right, let's do another macro cycle. Build SCVs, build mules, build Marines. Don't build a tank. Build a Viking. Add to the factory hotkey, because we forgot to do that earlier. We're going to put the siege tank down here. Actually, on this map, I think we'll put it lower, because it doesn't really cover anything. And depots. Gary can start building depots. And remember, we're going to grab a bunch of SCVs. People were apparently asking about this in the last game, and I didn't see it. Select the SCVs, hold down Shift, build barracks, click, 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 right click, let go of Shift. Now, I didn't select only 4, so you see the other workers are going to get bounced around a little bit following that order. Totally fine. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. Control click the barracks, Shift 5. Time for another macro cycle. Build SCVs, build mules, build Marines. Now that this is done, we can go tank and reactor. And then depots. And Bruce is going to join Gary there. They can be best friends. Viking is going to go for a scout of our opponent's base. And what do we do next, guys? You guys know what happens next. Double gas, engineering bay. The earlier we do that, the better. And remember, if you keep struggling with gas for stim and shields and that stuff like I've been doing, really simple solution. As soon as you start the gases, grab 2 workers off minerals, put them on the thing. Now, I just did it that way by selecting them. But let's do it another way. Let's use the deselecting. Let's just box a chunk of workers, right click on the gas, Shift left click twice, right click on the other gas, Shift left click twice, right click on the minerals. Perfect. All right, guys, let's do another macro cycle. A few more SCVs. These should be the last ones. Drop mules, Marines, tank, Medivac. Now, why did I only build 2 Marines? The reason is because we need to go tech lab, reactor. Before we're doing any more of that. Now we're going to finish the macro cycle and build those depots there. Queue up a few more. We can get +1 weapons. We've got pretty good map vision right now. It looks like my Viking flew through. We saw what looks like a very straightforward build. 5 barracks, factory starport. The Viking even survived. If we want, we can use that to scout later. Or for now, I'm just going to put it on this little rock here. So notice I'm just going to fly it around, put it on top of that rock to see any move outs. All right, guys. Last mule we're dropping. Marauder, Marauder. Marine, Marine, Marine. Tank, Medivac, Medivac. Then we want stim and shields. Oh no, we spent our gas. Cancel one of those medevacs. Stim shields. And these reactors just finished. Queue up those marines as well. Queue up extra depots. And that's a clean macro cycle, that is. Control group your army, guys. So remember, set those rally points. Shift 2. What are we going to do? Spotting for drops. Right click, shift, deselect. Let go of shift. Right click, shift, deselect. I'm back.
Ready for dust off.
If you guys struggle with this at all, hop in my Discord server, by the way, if you're watching this and it still doesn't make sense. What is this deselecting? It doesn't work the way you should. Rather than posting in the comments, because I don't get to answer comments on a daily basis on the YouTube section, I do try to answer them in there, but it's also very hard to describe. Come into my Discord server, check in the description below the YouTube video. If you're in my Twitch chat, !Discord, anytime to get a link for that. And you can get on in there to join that. So, oh, he's got a scout. Okay, so we're going to select my army, A move. And we're going to send 2 Marines. And then control group come back. Just using that. All right, guys. More Marines, more tanks, more medevacs, more depots. Same macro cycle over and over and over again. That's it, guys. What is this? Is there a Marine there? What the hell? Did I not just A-move these guys? All right, I think they split up somehow. All right, there's some Marines out here somewhere. All right. I think we've denied his map vision pretty well. I don't know how those Marines got out when I have Marines everywhere. Maybe they just walked past my Marines. Anyways, a few more Marauders, tanks, medevacs, shift 2, depots. Should we move out, guys? Well, as always, stim is done. Let's do it. Could have moved out a bit before stim is done, remember? Unload the bunker. We can sell that as well. Just click that salvage button, shift 2. All right, let's move forward and let's think about where do we want to attack? Do we want to attack up the ramp, guys? Or do we want to look at this? TVT, they keep being sieged on the natural, right? Oh, okay, let's go meet him. We can meet him in the middle of the map.
We're done with the research.
We can go, hello. Got a Viking there. We could pull that away if we want and just try to see what's going on with his army. We're going to siege our tanks here, guys. Spread the bio out a bit so they're not stuck behind the tanks.
Mineral field
And rather than staring at the front, what do we do? Make armor. Marauder, 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 Marauder. Lots of Marines. Tank. And remember, we swapped to Vikings because it's TVT. Box these guys. Shift 2. Down here. Looks like his arm. Oh, his whole army's down there. Okay, guys. We're going to unsiege the tanks. Now, this is where we could go counterattack instead. We're going to try and meet him, though, on the map. Let's break these rocks. So what we're going to do, right-click, shift, left-click. Right-click, shift, shift deselect. I mean, sorry, I was telling you the wrong buttons there. We're going to break these rocks. I don't know what he's doing, where he's hanging out right now. Oh, yeah, he's hiding in the corner. All right, let's go hunt this guy down, man. Let's hunt him down, shall we? We're going to stim, A-move, and we're going to siege the tanks. Now, arguably, I don't need to siege because I have so many more units here. But chase after those medevacs. Unsiege the tanks. Oh, there's a new army here. Oh no, it's just a Marine rally. Okay. You can box those guys and just stim the front ones if you want to. Oi, get back. Box these guys, shift 2. Let's move across the map. We don't want to move across blind, guys. Deselect, deselect, pull back. And you'll notice control grouping the army and deselecting here is the bigger focus. I've been losing a lot of my killer instinct in these games. Why? Because we are focusing on learning a new mechanic. And this is what you got to do as a player. I could have hunted that army down faster, but what are we doing? We're number 1, continuing to spend our money. Though I did stop the depot production. And technically, I couldn't max out. But more importantly, I was always sending these Marine spotters out. And this is where that deselecting mechanic is. I was like, oh, where is he? What do we do? I don't know if he's here, if he's doubling back. Right click, shift deselect. 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 And I just want to show you guys what's possible if you actually do it at pro gamer speed. Look at the minimap. Look at how many Marines I just sent, all to different locations. This is how you get map vision, and they're very free. GG, well played. Well played by Hospants there. Well done, mate. Pat Cott says, I think I'm just going to wait for StarCraft 3. I do have the time at almost 30, but I'm still super bad. I'm just going to wait for StarCraft 3. Being bad is the joy. That's what real-time strategy games are. The new game comes out, you're not going to be any better at it. You're just going to be surrounded by worse people. The choice you're making there is, there's two choices, right? Surround yourself with idiots and be the best of the dummies, or hang out with the elite, be the dumbest for a while, learn from them, absorb their brains, absorb their awesomeness, and be the average of the people you surround yourself with. If you wait for just to hang with the noobs in the new game, you're avoiding the joy of tapping into 10, 13 years of StarCraft 2 experience, where you can hop in a Discord server like mine, you post a replay every day with some good questions, you're gonna get so much free coaching and insight and analysis from everyone. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great, mate. So yeah, get on in there. Don't cheat yourself by being like, oh, it's too hard, I'm too bad.
Yes, sir.
You gotta just get in there, mate. Get in there, have fun getting your ass kicked. And remember, anyone starting StarCraft for the first time, your first 10 to 15 games will be losses because it starts you in the middle of the ladder, but it adjusts very quickly. So it might only be 5 losses. Some people, they start winning almost straight away because they've already played AI 50 games. But you never know what you're gonna get. And the thing is, the ladder will naturally find a good match for you over time. So don't worry about it, guys. The ladder will find a good match for you, and that'll be all good. Oh, I forgot to send my scout across the map, guys. We'll send that over now. We're playing a TVP, everybody, versus Pastel is Black. I'm not sure how Dot's going to edit the start of this video. Sorry, Dot, as you're editing this, I already apologize, because I know you're going to be like, you're just rambling. You're not even talking about the game. Where do I start the game? Anyways, so we're doing a TVP, guys. We're going to continue to focus on control grouping that, those units, putting out unit spotters, all that sort of stuff. This guy can just go home now. We don't need him. Still be out there chasing that probe. Add to the control group, center the camera location, set the rally point. And we can actually just build the depot with that guy, I guess, since he's already here. All right, guys, build SCVs, build mules. Dot in a few days when she's editing this is just going to be like frowning at her computer so angrily. She's like, why can't you just make a clean cut at the start of each game?
Up and running.
I'm sorry. Anyway, guys, we're going to build a few more Marines. We'll go for the factory in a moment as well. Just making life hard for your wife is a time-tested tradition amongst Australian husbands. It's called, oh man, I wonder why life's always so hard. Unhappy wife, unhappy life. We're not smart here, guys. We're not very smart. We make things harder than they need to be.
Big job, huh?
That's what she said. Anyways, okay, let's build the bunker. Let's start SCV production. Let's stop being so silly in our commentary. Let's actually talk about what we're doing. Let's put a few workers on gas there, guys. Remember, let's try and use the deselecting, actually, just to show. If we're a bit bad at boxing, we can do it this way, just to get used to it. Even though that's kind of inefficient, let's use that deselecting there. Oi! Those are my minerals! Oi! Bad. Can't believe he tried to steal that. PROTOSS have no respect for personal property, man. It's disgusting. We're not part of their communist, dirty communist alien culture. Oh, we want to share our minerals all together. No one owns personal minerals, idiots. Anyways, let's focus on the build, guys. It's going to be time for the first macro cycle soon, so we need to stay organized as much as my brain's getting chaotic right now.
Center has been upgraded.
Select command centers. Drop mules. Build 4 or 5 SCVs. Build a few more Marines. Build a siege tank. What do we do after that siege tank? You know the drill, guys. We built a depot, but oh, we're gonna have to start the depot. Then we're gonna need to control 2, chase. You're gonna have to attack with some SCVs and then shift right-click back on the minerals. Whenever you have to fight with workers, guys, always do that. What you do is you A-move the SCVs and then you shift right-click back on the ground. So once they're done killing any nearby units, they'll go back to mining on their own. So anyway, SCVs and mules, Marines, Viking. Remember, this is what we do, a full macro cycle into depots after dealing with any sort of distraction. You've got to remember to do that. Now on this map, I think we'll just put the tank over here, should be okay. Yeah, actually I want to put it over there, guys. I think over here is fine. Alright guys, build a few more SCVs, a few more Marines. Remember, no tank, no Viking. Just queue up another depot. And we just want to go for the barracks. Well, let's bring these guys back to the front. Shift 2. Let's select a bunch of SCVs. Hold down shift. Go build barracks, build barracks, build barracks, build barracks. Right click to get rid of the barracks, and then another right click before letting go of shift. Control click the barracks, shift 5. Build a few more SCVs and mules. Build some marines. Now that the barracks are started, we can build another tank and a reactor. And then the depot. Finish the macro cycle, as tempted as I am to give that Viking some orders. So we're gonna, actually, we might as well get Bruce on here as well, join Gary. Lower the wall in, and these two guys can go up in the main. All right, guys, what do we do after that? We go double gas, and then an engineering beta. Now remember, we kept having gas problems. Just build a few more SCVs and mules here, a few more marines, another tank, and another depot or two. So these guys can build some depots there. So remember, just put guys on gas straight away. If you want to do it more optimally like this, you basically do it a macro cycle later, which is about 30 seconds later, and it's close enough to putting them on when the gases start, and that'll be fine. Tech lab, reactor. We're at 46 workers, guys, so next macro cycle, let's go mules, no SCVs, marauder, well, marines, sorry, because we don't have those tech labs, siege tank, 2 medevacs. These guys are going to go shift 2, but we're going to click the Viking through, shift click, and then we're going to shift left click the Viking to deselect it, because that Viking accidentally got put in our army key. So notice we're just using that shift deselect all we can. Let's do it again. Right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect. One on the watchtowers as well. Right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect. Come home, control 2. So we just sent out 5 marine scouts. Let's get stim shields and do another macro cycle. Last meal for this game, guys. 2 marauders, or let's do 4 marauders, at least 12 marines, a siege tank, and some medevacs. I only have enough gas for 1 medevac, and we haven't started +1 yet. So we're just going to hold that button down, and the moment the 100 gas, it'll automatically start. There we go. Beautiful. Box these guys, shift 2. Now what are we seeing, guys? Pastel has a 3rd base, a Stargate, a Robo, a Forge, a Twilight, and Templar Archive. So this is, we're not really meant to focus on scouting, other than, oh, he has 3 bases, cool. But I'm going to introduce you guys. This is called, PROTOSS is like, I'm going to build one of everything! Ah! So that's usually how you identify a low-level PROTOSS player, is that's what their strategy always is just randomly make every tech structure. It's not good. It's a sign of massive greed. Queue up more marauders, more tanks, more medevacs. Oh, we forgot to build depots for a little while there, guys. We didn't do it on the last few macro cycles. Essentially, if you build every tech structure, you don't have enough gas for all this. What are you going to make? High Templar, Storm, Archon, but upgrades, but Charge and Blink, and also Robo units, and also Stargate units? You can't afford all that. Now, generally, we can punish that by attacking a little bit earlier than normal. Stim's almost done, so let's just grab our army and move out. We don't need to think about this. This is generally doing the faster push is always a good choice, but we're just informing you guys why this is especially a good choice today. Let's send a Marine forward, shift deselect, and we're going to push forward this way because we want to push up and try to siege behind these minerals where we can kind of get in between the bases, okay? So we're going to move up here through the middle. More Marines, more Marauders, more tanks, more medevacs. +1 armor.
We're done with the
And let's keep on queuing these. Oh. That guy was trapped. That's why the depots stopped building. Alright guys, we're going to do a scan ahead of our army. We see an observer. I don't see the rest of the army, so let's just move these Marines in until we do see it. Alright, let's control click the tanks. We want to move those just out in front a little bit. And you can see he has nothing. Now why does he have nothing? Because he built every tech structure. So we're going to just grab some guys, stim them in front. They can easily kill 3 adepts. And if his units come over to defend, they're going to meet some siege tanks. So these guys can just move over here. While watching, macro cycle. Marauder, 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 Marauder. Lots of Marines. Tank, Tank. Medivac, Medivac. We do need to queue up more depots, remember? That guy's also blocked. I keep blocking my SCVs. This is real noob. Do a scan. Alright, well we killed the base, that's great. How about we move in some more? Oh, Pervy Boy! I told you guys, PROTOSS have no shame. They always are watching from the shadows and stuff. That is an Oracle, guys, so we're gonna come in here. I'm gonna stim just a few Marines, because we don't want to waste the hit points. Just kidding, we're not gonna stim at all. We're just gonna move in, kill the Oracle. We're then gonna A-move across the map. Now, do we need to move forward? That's a lot of Archon Zealot. You know what, I'm gonna re-siege these tanks, guys. And what you want against Archon Zealot is you want them to charge onto your army. Oi! What are you... Oi! 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 What are you doing? What are you doing? Bad! Bad! is you want them to use the charge on your bio and finish the charge still far away from your siege tanks, which is why we want the bio to be up here, okay? We're going to move forward and bait them into a fight now, guys. Keep queuing up Marines, Marauders, tanks, and stuff off the hotkeys. So we're going to move these tanks forward. We're going to put one over there. And we're just going to put one tank forward. And this is what we call the bait tank, guys. So once we start hitting the wall off here, we don't really need, we could just use the bio for this. We're just going to stim these guys. And then because there's no splash damage other than the Archons, we don't need to do much spreading. We can just pull back a little bit further. We're not even using these guys. I guess we could stem those as well. Bring those in. And we caught them being greedy. We didn't let the third base pay off. So we can now unsiege the tanks and move in.
Upgrade complete.
Drop another scan in case there's any pervies. GG, mate. Too much tech. Watch the replay. Yeah. So you guys, this is kind of like a very Silver League build here from Pastel in terms of going for every tech. We always talk about the Silver League Terran play. What is a Silver League Terran play? I always make fun of when I'm casting low-level games. They go for like one barracks, and then they go double engineering bay, and they make double bio upgrades. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird to go double upgrades when you've only got one barracks, but I'm sure they'll make 5 barracks soon. And you know what they do then? They make 3 factories, and they only make mech units. But they've invested all this money in all the marine upgrades, and they've just got like 10 marines all game. But they're putting all their money into marine upgrades, but they're not building any marines. So this is kind of the same thing. You're making a Stargate. Apparently you're making oracles, but they never did anything this game. I didn't even know there was an oracle out here. Apparently they made multiple oracles, but they were just sitting there. So they did open Star. Oh, okay. There was 2 oracles, but he forgot about them. Oh. But then going Forge, Robo, Twilight, that's already very expensive. That's very expensive. To go for all of this tech at once is crazy. And then go Templar Archives as well, right? It's like we're going Robo, Forge, Twilight. Like there's so much tech here. This is kind of insane. I think you're trying to do one of my Plat Bronze GM builds. My Plat Bronze GM builds were the absolute worst taco sauce. That was the biggest failing of my PROTOSS Bronze GM was the Platinum section. Because I tried to show harassment units, and I ended up showing builds that are way too complicated for Platinum players. Even the Diamond PROTOSS players were like, this is too hard for me. I only have 60 APM. I'm a PROTOSS player. So it's really important to not copy those, and I'm going to fix those for sure. You're probably better off my PROTOSS Bronze GM going gold to diamond. Because the diamond build are just the platinum builds, but slightly simplified, I would argue. It's a problem I made in that series. In hindsight, I realized it afterwards that I showed a lot of interesting harassment units and I showed how to use them. So there's still value to be learned, but you shouldn't necessarily be copying it all. A lot of my PROTOSS Bronze to GM, the first one I did was very much, it was all like, okay, let's show how to use this unit. Let's show how to use this harassment unit. Let's show how to use this composition. Because there's so many fancy tools PROTOSS has, and I wanted to just show how to use them all to give people a well-rounded view of how to use different army units. Rather than say, get to GM, you've only used Zealots, Immortals, Archons, and they go, well, you never showed me how to use all the tools that PROTOSS has, Pig. Now I don't have any skills. So I wanted to make sure I branched people into trying different units early. The mistake there, though, is that I basically showed so much fancy stuff and people just could not execute it because the builds weren't simple enough. The builds were a little too complicated. That's why, like, I did some builds, they were too complicated, and then at the end of Platinum, I actually just simplified it. I did nothing but, like, Stalkers and Disruptors, and I said, okay, to stick with this theme, let's show a simpler way of showing units. Rather than doing Oracle Harass and just winning every game like we did in Platinum League, I actually slowed it down, and I just said, just make 2 base, 7 gate, Stalker, and Disruptor off 2 Robo. And all I did was make Stalkers and Disruptors, and just practice learning how to shoot Disruptors. And that was a much better example that I've said. A lot of people have messaged me saying, oh, I'm trying your Disruptor practice, you know, screw around Platinum build and winning all these games, and people are raging at me and stuff like that. And I'm like, that was a better build. So yeah, in general, it's just a bit too much tech going on. Yeah, forgetting Warp Gate does suck. Remember, you can still build out of the gateways. Just start queuing Zealots out of them. It's totally fine. You can still build Zealots out of these units. Just queue up a bunch of Zealots. There we go. You're doing it. Rally them to the front. And just try to be a bit quicker on saturating your third base, and you should be good. For us, we did a pretty good job of getting some map vision out there with our units, control grouping our army, and we had a bit more urgency. We moved out well before Stim was finished this time, just because we knew after scouting all that tech that we should not give too much time to Pastel. And to be fair, guys, I'm going to point out something I did very poorly here. I had an idea of what I was going to do when I went in, which was siege here. I scanned, I saw my opponent had literally 3 Adepts, 2 Zealots, and 2 Immortals, and I should have at that point known I could just win the game. And I should have moved right up, sieged my tanks here, and stemmed right in. There's no reason to sit in such a careful position when you have the better army right now. If you're trying to punish a greedy player, you want to punish them right now. You don't want to spend 3 minutes sitting outside their base, letting them macro up a big army. So even though I killed the 3rd, I gave him a lot of time to make a lot of Zealot Archon, and that was a pretty dodgy choice. Yeah. But anyways, TVZ, let's go for it, guys. Okay, so this SCV rallies there. Queue up your 16th worker and just be ready. The moment that depot finishes, let's build the barracks. So I'm already pressing my barracks hotkey, have my mouse there, Control 5, double tap that key or jump to your camera location, build the gas, build another SCV, grab one, queue that behind the natural, Control 2. Let's make sure our command center, our barracks is hotkeyed. Let's queue up 2 more SCVs to go to 19 supply, camera location 2, camera location 3, camera location 4, camera location 5, and the rally point. Lower the depot.
What's going on?
You made me giggle, Ricochet. Good stuff. All right, guys, we put on gas a little bit slow. That's going to slow down our reactor a little bit. Remember, you should have 50 gas there, but I was a bit busy setting up my camera locations. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Make an orbital. Send that guy down there while waiting for that gas. And there we go. Reactor goes down. Now, we can see there's a hatchery on the other side, so we're going to queue our SCV to go home. We're also going to build a command center. She has a drone watching. So I believe he's playing my Bronze to GM. Oi! Oi! Alright, guys, so you need to aim move 2 SCVs if they attack you like this, and then you need to try and do other stuff as well. Run away! So you need to tell him to halt production, guys. We're going to run him back into the main. Build 2 SCVs, build a mule. We need to build a depot right now. He's being annoying, so we're just going to aim move to kill that drone, and then shift click back on the minerals. But our depot has been massively delayed. And I misclicked that SCV. I thought I clicked him on the command center, but I didn't. Oh no. I forgot to. Alright, that's a bummer. Oi! There's another guy here? Alright, let's build another marine. Let's get these guys. So notice I'm just doing box, shift, box, click. Let's get a factory, shift, click. Factory on Control 4. Get a second gas. Depot's finished. Get up a few more SCVs and a few more marines. And a bunker. We're going to build a bunker at the front this time, guys. We like to wall off with depots in TVZ. And I'll just keep my rally point up here because you never know what's coming in this matchup. Alright, put guys on gas, build a mule, drop an SCV. Alright, guys, Control 2. Just to get a little bit of vision, we're going to put 1 marine outside our opponent's base there. Shift deselect, click him back. Just to give warning if there's an attack. I don't think there's such a thing as having vision too early. We're going to go for a starport now. Tech lab. And build another SCV or 2. Build a few more marines. These guys can get in the bunker. Go back to mining. Alright, Marine's gonna go for the Zerglings. Just 4 Zerglings. That looked pretty standard. Just looked like a scouting crew. Let's build more SCVs. This is the first macro cycle. Build more Marines. Build a siege tank. Can't build the Viking yet, but that's okay. Time for Gary to start the wall off. Oh, get wrecked, son. I'm gonna taste my drill. The SCV got an attack in there for fun. Let's set the rally point to the natural guys. If you want, you can grab a couple workers out of the main. It's not really necessary because you're gonna be pulling a lot of guys from there. But anyway, lots of SCVs, a few Marines. We build a Viking here as well. Remember, with the Viking, you can always rally that to your pervert pillar just to make sure that kills it without you even watching it. And queue up another depot. And then we can queue another one there as well since we're a bit behind on that. No worries. Let's make sure this tank moves past the Marines. Remember, he's got to push them out of the way before we queue up and siege up. And that's pretty nice. Alright, guys. Control 2. We're going to put a few Marines out. Deselecting like this. Such a good habit, guys. Control 2. One back. Macros like we'll build SCVs, build mules. Build a few Marines. Build a tank. No, we don't want a tank, do we? We just want the reactor. It's time to select the SCVs. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right click, right click. My best advice is to keep hammering the basics, then you become as creative as you want. I play since Wings, but lately I've been re-ranking once in a while for fun. However, after the basics are in there, even if the fingers are not working as they used to, I still get to high plat, low diamond with all races. Yeah, you shouldn't really be making new accounts too much, because that is a form of smurfing, mate, so just keep that in mind. If you're platinum or diamond, it's not big smurfing, because it does start you close to there, but yeah. Alright guys, gases, engineering bay goes down, macro cycle, SCVs, mules, build tank, build Medivac, control click those, make sure that's all good. And look, we got some good vision out. We know he doesn't have a 4th base. We also know... Those roaches have tunneling claw spikes on their back, guys. If you see big shiny spikes on their back, you want to make sure you know that that's tunneling claws. Now, I didn't finish the previous macro cycle because I didn't start Bruce building depots. So let's build a turret. You need the engineering bay to be done. We're going to build a turret here. And as long as it's walled off, they can't get in. But that's funny. Tech lab, reactor. And we're just going to make sure both Gary and Bruce... Actually, we should lower this, I think. Yeah, we can just lower it so he comes in, because we've got plenty of units to defend. Alright, let's get +1. Put guys on gas, and time for another macro cycle. We're maxed on SCVs, just drop mules, Marauder. Stim shields, tank, Medivac. I want to build lots more Marines as those guys come in. Now, check it out, our Viking can see these roaches hanging out. We're going to queue the zigzag across the map. And what's actually really advanced is, look at this, guys. I actually queue it around my opponent's territory where there's most likely to be Viking overlords. That's really good to clear all that up. And he's coming in right now, so these guys, we're going to go control 2, bring them down. And we can try to pull some SCVs here, guys. Let's pull some SCVs, repair that. Let's try and siege this tank as well. More Marauders, more Marines, lots of them. Tank, Medivac. Get some more depots as well. Alright. Right click. Shift left click 3 times. Right click. Shift left click twice because there was already one mining it. Click on the minerals. Beautiful. Lower those depots so these guys don't get stuck. More Marauders, more Marines, more tanks. Now what's funny is he could ambush me. Now, if you guys want to look for roaches, you can see a lot of moving burrowed units because there's like a kind of smoke on the ground. There's like a bit of dirt kind of kicked up. So you got to look closely. It's a bit different depending on your graphic settings. But we're going to build another turret outside our base just to make sure he's not waiting for us there. Alright guys, more Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, more Medivacs, and lower those depots.
This better be good.
Alright, box these guys. Control 2. Because those roaches are gone, I think we can send more scouts out. And look at this, the Vikings already got 2 kills. It's about to get a 3rd.
We're done with the research.
Right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect. Slow it down a little bit, right click, shift deselect. Click them home, control 2. That's going to give us some great vision, guys. We're almost ready to move out a few more Marauders, Marines, tanks, Medivacs, depots. We've got +1 weapons. Let's start +1 armor. Unsiege this tank, shift 2, unload the bunker, shift 2, rally everything to the low ground. And he's got infestors. Okay guys, this is going to be tough. So what we're going to do, we're going to move there, deselect a Marine, move there, deselect a Marine. We're going to try to move up here, but we've got to be careful about where that army is. Is he killing those rocks? Yes he is. Okay, select our barracks, build Marauders, build Marines, build tanks, build Medivacs.
You gonna give me orders?
Deselect. Deselect. Pull back, control 2. That was pretty fast. We're going to take a 3-second timeout to simulate you guys' slowness. Oh, siege the tanks. Stim, but don't A move, because otherwise they'll die to the fungal. So what do? We just spread our bio out, and don't chase, click them back. Now, we see what happened? I was a bit slow to click them back, so we copped a good fungal. Gotta just spread them out. Fungal is like banelings, guys. It's like Psystorm. Spread your units out, don't click them all in at once. Jump home. More Marauders, more Marines, more tank, more Medivac.
Mineral field depleted.
Now remember, if your opponent's holding us back like this and we can't really... Whoa! Do you guys see the dark mist there? There was a big black kind of dirt track on the ground. We now select our army and stim. Scanned a bit late. That was a sick ambush by him. but I think because he doesn't have any upgrades, he's on 1-1. So similar upgrades, we had just enough firepower. That was a really cool ambush. Fox, these guys. Did you guys notice that until I reacted? By the way, be honest in the comment section, or were you completely surprised by it? I imagine for the newer players you were surprised by it, but any of the vets watching would definitely have noticed that. So what you can do, guys, is you can grab a bunch of extra workers and we can go send them to a base, build a third, build a fourth. And we can also go second engineering bay armory.
Upgrade complete.
We can do that in this matchup as well. We normally only do this in... Whoa! He's friggin' kicking my ass. Stop it! Stop it! Bad! Scan, make sure there's no infestors nearby. Ah! Ah! Leave me alone! Stop dropping spells on me, mate. Dropping corrosive biles on me and stuff. Now, there's an argument here. We should have done something, right? You know they're playing burrow. Come and build turrets with your push, right? So bring a few SCVs across and build some turrets is a good idea, guys. So we build more Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, and more Medivacs. Hey, so is the lesson here to not focus on all the units and tech, but just to build a few structures in competitive? Yeah, and this is just... There's something underneath us. We can see it there. This is generally how you improve at anything. You can't do everything at once, right? Because you don't know how to do anything. So if you try to learn everything at once, it's like picking up a guitar, picking the most advanced song in the world and going, oh, I'm just going to do this at once and learn all the thousands of skills and details that take a player like of the guitar to get to the level where they can do this. I'm just going to do that now because why not learn everything at once? Obviously that doesn't work. And it's the exact same thing. Now he's coming across with an attack, so we can send these guys here to try and defend this base, right? Stim over there. We saw those lings running past. We can aim move. And then they can come to the front. Alright, we get an orbital there. Shift 7. Orbital there. Shift 7. Set the rally point here. And guys, when you get to the late game, do this every now and then. Control click the idle worker button. Click there. Now let's get moving, because I do think we can win this game. And we're taking a bit too long. We could have shown a lot more killer instinct. Let's stim and attack, but there are infestors there. So let's pull back. Siege the tanks. What you want to do here, spread out. Try to spread out. Oh, good fungal, but needs to wait for me to unsiege. So pulling the SCVs away kind of sucked, because now I can get jumped on at any point. Luckily, I've got 4 orbitals now, which is good. Now remember, we could have gone upgrades. I just did a pro gamer thing where you build an engineering bay and an armory in a separate spot from the first engineering bay. This is really bad, because if you don't hotkey those, that's a big problem. Now, luckily, I do normally hotkey my engineering bays and armories. See, they're on 6 here. Again. Stop ambushing me from underground! Oh my lord. These fights are so annoying. Luckily, he's only on 3 bases, right? Yeah. We're gonna pull back, actually, regroup. Grab these guys, shift 2. More Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, and Medivacs. Actually, we probably have too many Medivacs, right? Yeah, we probably want to build Liberators from there, or nothing. You could build more SCVs if you want, but more important is just jump to your natural and make sure you transfer most of those workers at some point, guys. So you can see now, basically the way it works is half your mineral patches run out very early and the other half run out soon, a few minutes later. So that's just the way you want to move these workers around. This is where camera locations are really helpful, guys. You could just box the workers, jump to the 4th base, click them there. Saves you so much time from trying to click on the mini-map and stuff like that. Alright guys, let's go for one big killer push now. He keeps intercepting me. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move down around the bottom and we're going to try and get sieged up here where we're right on top of his base. So we're going to come right around this bottom side to here, and then we're going to try to run up because we've got lots of marine spotters here as well. We can even try to move these guys forward. That's not a marine, that's a Viking. Oh, his army's coming forward. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, what do we do? First thing is always run the workers and lift the command center. And then it's build more Marauders, Marines, tanks. Put them in there and just try to hold on this position, okay?
Our base is under attack.
Now he's coming in, so I need to A-move my army. So it looks like he might try to shove in, guys. So if your opponent's going to overwhelm you, pull back. Set rally point to the high ground. Luckily, he's not pushing in, because if he does, he could kill me. We're going to raise those depots and just try to defend the high ground. Now, at the same time, we're going to push in here, guys. And we're going to... He says, ah, nice, because he realizes he's being kind of out-positioned. We're going to shove on in and try to kill everything. And you can see he's coming back now, so let's set up here.
We've
Siege the
exhausted the
tanks.
best team, guys.
Slow pig. And we can try to scan and deal with these units. And you'll notice these guys aren't even really in the fight. I could bring those forward because I don't see any infestors. So we can bring them forward. As I say that, one of them burrowed in just then. He's down here right now. GG's. Cool, really slick, cool, funky play. That was honestly hard to deal with. What could we have done, guys? Well, once I got to 8 Medivacs, at like the 10-minute mark, probably could have done something, right? And I know there's always someone in Silver League who's shouting about this. There's always a Silver League player. We got 8 Medivacs, guys. That's all the Medivacs we'll need for this game. Our opponent has nothing that shoots up to kill them. There's always one guy in Twitch chat. Why don't you just build a Raven, Maru? Watching Maru playing like a world championship match. And the thing is, it's actually 100% correct. If your opponent has shown their hand that they're using burrow, tunneling claws, and then burrowed infestors as well, I mean, rather than having a scan, why not just build a Raven? So what I could do here, swap the starport off, build a tech lab, make a Raven, and bring that to the front. And just have that Raven hovering over my army, hanging out. The scary thing with using a Raven is it's a spellcaster. So when you have your army selected, normally what do? We select 2 and press stim. Guess what? That doesn't work if you've got a Raven in your army. So what's going to happen is it's going to select the Raven. So you're going to have to select 2, tab from the Raven to the bio, and then press stim. And that is where you get very tangled up. Yeah. But yeah. So obviously, if we can build turrets, it's not a bad idea. But the Raven is going to be way nicer in the long term. Now, if my opponent shows they use burrow to hide some Zerglings one time, I don't care to build a Raven. But if their whole strategy seems to be based around burrow, infestors, roaches, ravagers coming in, I'm going to go for the Raven because it just makes sense. If your opponent's whole strategy is sneaky and visible units underground, getting detection is so important. I'm curious about the missile turret. Isn't it a waste of minerals since it can be destroyed after your army moves? If it's a good move, why not bring the SCVs along and make turrets on the army path? Oh, I should have. I absolutely should have. I accidentally sent them home because I was showing everyone how to use the idle worker button to send workers to mine. And that brought my idle SCVs that had built the turrets back home. Otherwise, I would have built turrets here and I would have kept moving forward methodically with the tanks and the bio. What we're finding in this series is I often am defaulting towards keeping the macro up while getting my push going. And this is because my opponents are very ready for it. And I think this is a good point to mention. This is partially a symptom of the way I'm doing my Bronze 2GM, is my opponents are all playing very smart against my siege tank style, where because they know it's coming, they're always trying to ambush me. They're trying to catch me on my side of the map. They're trying to jump on me when I'm unsieged. A lot of the time, you're just going to move forward, even in diamonds, siege up in range of the hatchery with one or 2 tanks there, a few tanks back here, or tanks here and here and here, and just spread your units out and take a good fight. And it's either going to win or it's going to lose. Because I've got these players who are constantly out here ambushing me and trying to jump on me, I'm kind of just, and I'm playing at a pretty low APM, I'm constantly just forced to basically queue up more units, show some more macro. And I'm also trying to mix in, if the game stalls out, rather than headbutting into the enemy, I just want you guys to have a little bit more flexibility as an option, even though we don't normally want to go for it. And I really, I know there's going to be people who copy this Bronze 2GM now, and they're going to just go straight 2nd Engineering Bay, Armory, 4 command centers. They're not going to commit to their push, and they're going to wonder why this build is crap. You guys are going to realize the extra command centers, the 2nd Engineering Bay and Armory, these are backup plans. This is not even plan B, this is plan C. This is so bad. Like, this is, if you were playing a straight macro build, you'd have a much faster 3rd, much faster Engineering Bay and Armory. These are just to give us a bit of continued ability to play the game the later it goes. We are still mostly committing to what is essentially a 2-base all-in style. We're not going past 45, 50 workers. We're just massing bio tank and we're trying to use that. But because my opponents know what I'm doing, because I'm getting volunteers to do my build, my show, we're seeing a lot of situations where I get really stalled out. So just keep that in mind, guys. All right, guys, let's go. Gonna try and set that camera location. We can set the rally point back. Big thanks to ADF42 with the tier 1. Gonna try and play really slow because I haven't lost a game today, guys. Now, to be fair, Let's be real, I was pretty close to losing the TVT on Gressven earlier today, and I kind of count that as a loss. I kind of count that as a bit of a loss, right? Oh, big thanks, Jinkles, for the sub as well. So generous today, everybody. Thank you so much for the support. We just hit the next level of hype train. Thank you. So, I would like to lose some more games because the whole philosophy of this Bronze to GM is I should be losing not a lot of games, but the occasional game. Oi! Don't steal my gas. Did you see that? Sometimes the SCV bugs out. Even though I had told it to attack the probe, sometimes your workers bug out like that. It's not very common, but it is what it is. Now, you might think this totally ruins my build. We're not going to change anything except when we take our second gas, we're going to build it on the expansion rather than in the main. Oh, he's disrupting me. So for those who don't know, Realm helps me pick players for this show, and sometimes we're both a bit frustrated. There isn't more cheese and disruption for me to show you guys how to respond to it. Oh, I forgot to send my SCV scout. I was so distracted. And apparently he's decided to come in here and just ruin my day. So, it's fine. Go orbital reactor. Just keep following your build, guys. Oh, apparently I've only got 2 guys on gas, so let's put a 3rd one on. Oh, I clicked in behind. Do you see, guys? You can see the little outline. I accidentally misclicked that SCV behind the gas. That's why that didn't work. Now, if they block you, just build the command center next to it. You can lift it over later. That's totally fine. Add to the hotkey. We don't need to center the camera location or anything like that. Let's just make sure our other camera locations are there.
Command center has been upgraded.
Build SCV. Drop mule. Build depot. And this guy should be hiding behind the expansion. See when he goes for that. Now when the Marines come out, we're just going to clear the pylon first so we can move the command center over. Then we're going to take the gas, okay? We're going to keep doing everything else the same way we normally do. Now keep in mind, there is a bit of a delay on mining the second gas, because normally we go for that second gas right now. So build 2 more SCVs. And remember, they've spent a lot of money to mess our build up. So your whole job here is to just stay focused. Keep building Marines, SCVs, and we're going to take that gas here on the expansion, okay? So this SCV can rally to it, and then we can grab another SCV and just click it on it straight away so we don't forget. We also want to get a bunker here as well, so we'll do the bunker. All right, queue up a few more SCVs, a few more Marines. If you're more distracted, so you're more like looking around going, what's happening? Then it's more important for you to queue up extra SCVs, extra Marines to make up for the fact that you're so distracted. Now these Marines apparently didn't start killing the pylon because I'm an idiot. We can make the orbital for now. And we could drop a mule there, but because that might be lifting off, we'll just keep dropping mules in the main base for now. We can 16 there, so we can rally to the natural. Okay. So we're going to put 4 Marines in the bunker. These Marines are going to clear that gas, but it's not urgent. Doesn't matter. And we can go Tech Lab. Get a starport. And we can keep building SCVs and Marines.
Command center
And this guy, as soon as it's done, lift it off. Tell it to land. These guys in here. And do that. Okay, cool. So now is an interesting point in the game, guys, because I just dropped a mule and I shouldn't have. Why? Because it's 3:30 and my opponent doesn't have an expansion. Uh-oh! What the hell? Okay, guys, keep building Marines and SCVs, and as soon as I get scan energy, remember, if our opponent doesn't expand, we're meant to scan their main base to see what's happening. So what are we doing in the meantime? SCVs. Pull one off gas. Build a tank. Key the starport. Build a Viking. I haven't started building SCVs yet because the siege tank is late due to the distraction. So we're going to start double depots. And we'll do a scan. So what do we see? We see a Twilight Council and a lot of gateways. That looks like a charge lot all in where he's forgotten to make warp gate, or a blink all in, guys. Either of these are very scary. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a bunker there. The Viking can guard our main in case a warp prism comes in. And we're going to keep all our units up on the high ground, other than that bunker at the front. So if our natural dies, that's fine. We just run the SCVs, lift the command center. As long as we keep the high ground alive, we can win the game. So we're going to keep building Marines, and we're going to build more tanks and Liberators. Remember what we did against the Roaches earlier today, guys? When the Roaches came in, same thing. The opponent wants to kill us, we want to survive. As long as we keep building depots, keep building army units, and if you don't have much money, you can stop SCVs. But we've got plenty of money, so we might as well just keep building SCVs in the meantime. Keep building Marines. We can put this Viking down here. And if you want, you can use patrol, guys. Just realized that it's gone and reset my command card. Sorry for that, guys. So just use patrol. That'll stop any warp prisms flying in. Put this siege tank here. A few Marines in there. And continue our build. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 barracks. 2 gases, and then an engineering bay. Oh, what's happening? Oh god, what's happening? Box the SCVs. Mineral walk those back up into the main guys. And see, we're totally safe here. We might have to lift the command center. That's okay. Poof. Okay. Now we did lose a lot of SCVs there, right? So let's quickly put 2 guys on gas, keep pumping workers. And we'll try to re-land that and take it. So let's just put the Liberators down. Did the Zealots run away, or maybe they recalled? Let's siege the Liberator at the front. Let's control click our workers. Put them on the natural. Rally there. Build lots of SCVs and mules. And keep building Marines. Control click these barracks. We want 2 tech labs and 2 reactors. We're gonna get a tank. Reactor on the starport. +1. Oh no, not again! Leave my boys alone! Ow! Oh, he's trying to kill the thing. You can't lift off while you've got SCVs, guys, so you have to cancel quickly. So you spam cancel, which escape is the default. And do that, and then you need to get down there to repair that. Quickly repair it. Ooh, I would normally lift that so much faster than that. I think I did a good job of slowing down there as someone who's pretending to be a silver player right now, guys. I think I'm cosplaying quite well. I think you should all be impressed.
Add-on is up and running.
All right, guys. So we're going to repair that. Shift click back on the minerals. Build some more mules there. And what we're going to do is we're going to move all these Marines down. He also never killed the bunker, so that's actually crazy how much damage that's been doing. And because he's massing Zealots, we can actually do something crazy here. We can show you. Hold on, need more print. We can build a reactor. He's, like I said, he's not a main PROTOSS player, so he's basically using all of his knowledge of the fact that I'm not attacking early, and that he has free reign to do whatever he wants, to just do what he wants. Now, I just started queuing up Marines, guys, but guess what? My work account sucks. SCVs have to be the priority. Now, I just held down the SCV key. It's easy to think I queued up 10. I didn't. I only queued up 3. Keep tapping that until we have lots of SCVs queued. Keep dropping mules. And I want to try and take those gases as well, just to get back up to where we're used to being. Arguably, we don't need as much gas. The way he's coming in and clicking on the command center. Oh my lord.
Add-on is up and running.
Alright, we're just going to keep repairing it with that guy. Grab another worker, repair the bunker. So you want to start building Widow Mines. And the reason Widow Mines is because they smash Zealot. Okay, well. So I think he's tapping is what he's saying, basically. Because, remember, he didn't have an expansion, guys.
Upgrade is ready.
So we can scan. Let's send some vision out. Right-click, Shift deselect. Right-click, Shift deselect. Right-click, Shift deselect. Right-click, Shift deselect. What did I just do, guys? I sent 1 Marine to each gold base, and I sent another Marine all the way around the edges to check for corner bases. This one. More Marauders. More Marines. And we're going to build Widow Mines. Now, there we go. As we suspected, and I suspected this much earlier, that he would have a gold. Wolfing Zealots is hard without rapid fire. Alright, so we have stim now. Make sure you borrow these Widow Mines, and try to always run your bio away from the Zealots if you can. That was pretty advanced, that maneuver. But I'll let myself lose 6 or 7 more SCVs to pay for it. But Widow Mines ruin Zealots, guys. You just need to run away with your bio. So if you're not comfortable, you can just get enough bio tank and still do it. But I feel like showing you guys different unit counters occasionally is totally okay. We could have kept going tanks, because tanks will counter Stalkers, Colossus, and any other things, because they give the range advantage. And as long as you have a big enough pack of bio, once you get stim, shields, and a big ball, you will smash it. GG's. Really well played by him there, guys. Notice the main thing we did. Enemies 1 base, pull back to the high ground. Now, was he actually 1 base? It was not a delayed 1 base, it was actually a 2 base attack. So taking that economic damage did hurt a little bit. And this just reminds me of an extra bit of, and don't get me wrong, this is the first thing I thought of, because I know this map has gold bases, and I always watch Hero take them and do cheesy stuff to Terran. But I didn't want to use that because that's advanced game knowledge you guys might not have, which is why I didn't scout for it. But if you guys are like, oh, he's 1 basing, you scan, you're like, oh, there's still no attack. It's totally okay just as standard to grab a Marine, queue it around the edges of the map to check if there's corner bases. Now, by staying on the high ground, we're pretty safe, but you should probably raise these depots as well, because if Zealots get on top of the tanks, they do die pretty quickly. Because I had backup bunker, quite a few Marines up here, I felt like I was okay in this scenario. GG's. So just to review it one more time, guys. So this one was pylon block plus gas steel. Okay, so pylon block. What do we do, guys? Build CC next to it. Just continue normal build. And then what do we do? Move CC to proper position as soon as possible. Okay. What about the gas steel though, right? Because that's I think the harder one. That's the one that is a bit more annoying. Gas steel. Just take gas at normal time, but on your natural. Send some Marines to clear the assimilator at some point. It's not urgent. Remember, it was lower priority because I've got the gas there, then clearing the pylon, getting my bunker full. Only then did I send a few Marines to clear it. But basically, continue your normal build is the biggest thing, right? And that's the most important part. And you will make a few more mistakes, but your opponent has messed up their build massively. They've invested money to throw you off your build. They're probably a really bad macro player because anyone who's focusing on trying to throw their opponent off usually hasn't improved their own game a lot. So all you need to do is just try to put extra focus into your basics. Like, look, my depots, I forgot my depots. So I can't rely on starter siege tank build supply depots. Why? Because my factory was later than normal, because I was thrown off my build here, right? So I've got to just pay a bit more attention to building workers, building army, building depots, setting my rally points, and just trying to get back in the general flow. And there was a point here when I start these 4 barracks where it started to feel a little bit more comfortable, or it would have, but because I scouted he was on 1 base, I obviously had to go bunker on the high ground. I started queuing up extra siege tanks. I queued up a liberator, all of this sort of stuff as well. So this all comes off the fact that not only was there a disruption early, but there was also then what I thought was a 1 base all-in based off of my scouting, so I played exceptionally safe here. Now keep in mind, my barracks were only 30 seconds to a minute late. They weren't that late, considering I'd been massively disrupted early, and I thought there was a 1 base all-in. And this is the power of having a set reaction that you just, oh, he's 1 basing? Build bunker on the high ground, keep my units up there on the high ground, build a few extra tanks, keep doing normal build. Just keep doing it, and that's going to be fantastic. All right, guys, let's go. We got ourselves another TVT. I feel like today's been the day of TVT. But that's a hard matchup for a lot of people, and I think it's been quite useful. So I think the only change in this game is I want to push my tanks forward through the opponent a little bit more rather than just sieging outside their base and waiting. I think that's a useful thing, and I think you can really focus in so many different ways in StarCraft. And as long as you get better at doing it your way, and there's like a logic to what you're doing, you'll get better. But I do feel I'd like to just methodically move my tanks forward a little bit more, use the Vikings, use the scans, assuming we get into that same sort of standoff position, which TVT often does. I'm gonna build the barracks there. Of course, we still want to make sure we're very good at getting the map vision out there, control grouping our army, all this sort of stuff. Not to mention, I really do think the build is a lot more clean now that we're kind of delaying the factory and starport production after that start. Has been really nice. SCV scout's gonna go there. Just gonna grab 2 guys, put them on gas. You might say, why not do the deselecting? Well, if I box a bunch of guys, put them on gas, put them back on minerals, I am wasting a bit of mineral mining time, guys, so it kind of makes sense to not do that.
Go ahead.
Let's go down to the natural.
SCV ready.
3rd base, 4th base, and 5th base. In my own play, you'll usually see me take this 4th when I'm playing GM play, in TVT specifically, because I don't like getting doom dropped. So I like to kind of just have my army kind of controlling this area in front, and there's not a lot of room for them to doom drop without running past my army, which is very dangerous. And I really focus on like dominating that side of the map. But we're doing a more standard expansion pattern today, guys. Anyways, command center's down. Add to the control group, set the rally points. You go there. Get the depot.
Command center has been upgraded.
Shift click it back. Build an SCV.
Our SCVs are under fire.
And okay, our opponent went Marine first. They already had a second production facility, and I saw workers mining the second gas. Doesn't matter, guys. None of this changes anything we're doing. Just keep doing what we were planning to do anyway. Of course, we don't have a scout, so I guess there is an argument that we do want to see what's going on. So, okay. I guess what I'll do is I will send an SCV around the edge to try and see if there's an expansion. That's the one thing we'll do. Get that bunker started. All right, queue up 2 more SCVs. 2 more Marines. Let's control group these Marines. Because we do want to check at 3:30 if he's got an expansion. And I think by queuing this SCV around the edge, it should get in there right around that time. It should give us the info. Second gas is a little bit late. That's okay. A few more SCVs, a few more Marines. Shift 2. Let's make an orbital, shall we? Drop a mule. Let's get a tech lab. Come down here and build a starport as well. We're a little bit slow on this gas. Let's just put that on now. Shift click back to minerals. All right, what do we see, guys? Ah, okay, so they've expanded, so we don't need to do our 1 base reaction, guys.
Add-on is up
We
and
lost a
running.
second SCV for it. Not cheap, but
Command center has been upgraded.
way better than not. Now notice we did that shift click maneuver we talked about in the previous show. You can tell the Marines to get in the bunker and then move back to the front. Let's get a tank started, and Gary can start the first depot before moving into the main. I think we'll build all the depots over here. Nice tight grid. Set the rally point in the natural. Lots of SCVs, lots of Marines.
SCV ready.
Well, 2 Marines, let's be real. It's not that many. And we'll get that Viking started as well. Okay, cool. This is looking pretty clean now, guys. This is a really good start. Big thanks, Yellow Bee, for the sub. If you guys are enjoying the show, by the way, on YouTube after the fact, don't forget to drop by to play against me live every Wednesday, my time, Australia time, which is Tuesday afternoon, evening, every North America, European time. Twitch.tv/x5_pig. You can also check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel. Links in the description. It really helps us with, you know, I drop too many naughty words sometimes. I get the videos demonetized, don't I? Anyways, let's build some barracks. 4 barracks, queue them back. Build a few more SCVs in this. Not really in these coaching videos, I don't, to be fair. Anyways, let's queue that Viking through for a scout. Big thanks, JK Gamble with the 4-month resub as well. What's up, guys? Control click the barracks, shift 5. Reactor there. All right, guys, so lots of SCVs, a few more Marines, another tank. Oh, what? Oh, no! Oh, no! All right, guys, swap to Cyclones. This is not a good time to be supply drop blocked, so we're going to build a supply drop there. And we're going to F2, so I'm actually going to select all army, including unloading the bunker. Shift 2. So we're going to get these guys, control 2. Run the SCVs away, guys. Trying to get all my Marines together so they can take him on. I've got my Viking I'm pulling home from scouting as well. Now move right underneath to fight. And I could have done a lot more better stutter step because you don't want to chase like that, guys. Vikings and Cyclones are what we need. A couple Cyclones, as many Vikings as we can get. Let's mass repair that Viking because if it dies, we're screwed. And then we go back to mining there. Shift 2. Let's A move. All right, guys. Natural's fully saturated, so let's rally back to the main. Hold down the SCV key, drop mules. Hopefully we can kill that. Yes! All right, killing a battlecruiser is massive, guys. It's very important. That's huge. Now, we just need to grab these SCVs, shift click.
Gotcha.
That should work. Just be very careful you give those commands correctly. These guys, shift 2. All right. Whew. Remember, SCVs, mules, depots is the most important. Right now, we're almost supply blocked. So Gary and Bruce are going to get back to work. And we don't have anyone on gas. We also have no gas right now. So put guys on gas, guys. What do? Use the deselecting. Right click. Shift left click. Right click. Shift left click. Back on minerals. On the natural, take both gases there. Keep queuing up. More SCVs, more mules. Because I don't want to forget, we're just immediately going to put guys on gas. Use the deselecting. I keep correcting myself there, guys, because I'm trying to show you this new mechanic.
Yeah, whatever.
That was a different way of doing the deselecting at the end, but anyways, I'll show you properly next time. 2 tech labs, 2 reactors. I don't have enough gas for the reactors, which is a disaster. This is enough anti-air to kill a single BC. We really want to scan now to see kind of what he's got. Is he still building battle cruisers? The answer is yes, and he's trying to build barracks. Now he's going to come... Oh, teleports in right after I scanned him. Mate. Ooh, not a good choice. All right, so if he goes after the Cyclones, you can chase after him, but we're just A-moving at him right now. Good enough. All right, select the command centers. Hold down the SCV key, guys. 5 on each. Because I lost a bunch, and I transferred to gas, select it. Set back to minerals. It's really important after a harassment to fix up your saturation. Okay?
Add-on complete.
Keep building depots. And speaking of which, let's do a macro cycle. We just did lots of SCVs. Let's do it again, as well as a few more mules. Marauder, 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 Marauder. Marine, 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 Marine. Tank, Tank. Medivac, Medivac. Now, because we saw barracks, we know he's not playing Mech. So our normal game plan's good, and this squad of anti-air is perfectly, perfectly fine. So we're doing good. What are we missing? Engineering bay never got made, did it? Now, because we've been so delayed, guys, it's actually possible for it to make perfect sense. Oh, those depots didn't get built because they got stuck. That's a bummer. It's perfectly worth it in this sort of scenario. Oh, look, our main is fully saturated, guys. Number turned red, so select the command centers, change the rally point,
Ready for dust off.
to build an extra command center ahead of time. Now, you might be wondering, why is that? It's because when the game gets delayed with a lot of fighting, but you can't push yet. It's ages till I get my upgrades and stuff. I haven't even started them. Look, they're just starting. Stim and shields, building more Marines, more Marauders, more tanks, more Medivacs. Still building SCVs. I mean, it's just going to be forever till I can push. So even though I'm spending my money pretty well, if I do start banking up at all, and I just queued up a lot of units, and I've still got a bit of bank, shift to these guys, keep adding those to army group. Squeezing a 3rd command center in is just going to give me somewhere to transfer workers to, because this base is about to mine out a bit. My natural will start mining out a few minutes later than that, so it's just going to make it a bit easier for me. So guys, go to your rally point, shift 2. Let's get those scouts out. Right click, shift deselect. Right click, shift deselect. Right click, shift deselect. Right click, shift deselect. Now, if we were dealing with more traditional ground-based aggression up to this, we would be absolutely prioritizing these Marine scouts, right? Oh wait, oh, he's doing Marine scouts as well. Okay, so we just screwed that up, guys. So let's try that again. We need to A-move this time. A-move, shift deselect 2. A-move, shift deselect 2. A-move, shift deselect 2. A-move, shift deselect 2. Come home, control group 2. So you would need to prioritize ground scouting, but because he's going around the edges, he's teleporting in, sending Marines out just isn't that important, is it? Let's select the 3rd base, shift 7, select there. Marauders, Marauders, Marines, Marines, tanks, tanks, Medivacs, Medivacs. And it looks like those pairs of Marines went around and they killed all of my opponent's Marine scouts. And also, check it out, I'm on 3 bases now, he's only on 2, that's good. Let's scan the front, what's it look like? Oh, so they're going to a traditional style now. Okay, cool. All right, guys, let's unsiege the tank. Let's get concussive. Let's do a full macro cycle. Marines, Marauders, tanks, Medivacs, all building. Build a few more SCVs. That should get us to max supply. We won't need any more of that. Do we have upgrades? Yeah. Cool. Let's rally those there, make an orbital. Box this army. Shift 2. I think it's time to move out, isn't it, guys? Stim shields, concussive almost done. Max out on supply. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to rally to the natural now. Just box all those units, shift 2. Let's move across the map now. First of all, looks like we lost those guys, so let's go A-move, deselect 2 Marines, pull back. Let me slow that down, guys. So what's the difference here? Rather than right-clicking, I always right-click with Zerglings, but with Marines, especially in TVT, more reason to fight. Right? A-move, shift left-click twice, pull back, control 2. Real easy. Just did that 2 times in a row. Alright, guys, we rally to a 3rd. And what does that 3rd help us with? Remember what I talked about. You can take most of those workers, just over half, send them there, send them there. More Marauders, more Marines, more tanks, more Medivacs. Box these guys, shift 2. Let's move our army across the map. And he's making a planetary there. You can tell because it's poking its little stiffy out. So if they're turtle heading a little dicky out of the top of that, you want to do it that way. So first, send a Marine. Shift deselect, because we need to see if our opponent moves out. We've got spotters on the bottom, nothing in the middle. We want to move up, but we don't want to go through this little dotted line here. We want to gather our whole army together, and we know we like the tanks to kind of be together, so if we can get those tanks together, that's nice. Just control click them. Drop a scan. Okay, he's got a pretty good army. Let's A-move down here, and let's try to siege these tanks in a nice forward location, shall we? There we go, guys. All right, pull back the bio a little bit. Looks like we've driven a wedge. That's awesome. All right, let's do a macro cycle. Oh, actually, let's get the Vikings out front. Now remember, in this scenario, guys, we're going to start doing something that we won't do it every game, but we're going to start doing it more. Vikings, going to steal those onto control group 3. Did he move out there? Oh, he's sending some units across. Okay. More Marauders and Marines. These guys are going to move over here. I'm not adding these to my army key, guys. These guys are not on a control group.
Upgrade complete.
Because their job is just to siege up and defend the third base, okay? That's their whole job. Just let them sit around the tanks. And he's the one who's going to be stressed out by this, going, oh god, he's moving in. So we're going to take this siege tank, unsiege it. We're going to shift click it with that tank. We're going to try and move these guys forward. Starts killing his tanks. Remember, I wanted to focus more on actually marching into range. So I think those guys will just be in range. Oh, they're just out of range. Oh, yes, barely in range. Cool. Build the last depots we need in this game. Let's build the second engineering bay and the armory. Build some more Marines, tanks. Oh yeah, he's trying to go for a doom drop, guys. Look at these Marine spotters. How good's that? Even if I didn't see it, because we'd seen him move across earlier, we were already going to leave a lot of units around. So we'll just put those on the edge. None of these units hotkeyed. They should keep me safe. Let's keep marching on forwards. So what we're going to do, always leave most of your tanks sieged. Because there's no tanks on that third, we can just move there, siege up. What if he jumps on me? Make sure the bio's there. Escort it. Escort with the bio. Stim forward. Defend. Defend. Oh, okay. And pull back. Don't go into the tank range. Don't go into the tank range. Move the Vikings forward a little bit, guys.
Our base is under attack.
Okay, what's going on here, guys? So it looks like he stumbled into me a little bit. Luckily, my bio was really well positioned. Even if I didn't do anything, they would have cleaned up that attack. But we did just grab the guys on the left and stim them over. Now that's obviously great minimap awareness from me, but I was already going to leave everything here anyway. So I would have been able to respond either way, even without my amazing minimap vision. We're going to start 2-2 upgrades, +1 vehicle weapons. Let's go back. We just killed the opponent's third, so we can send a few units down there now to deal with that. We can move these Marine spotters down. And it feels like he can't really have any corner bases because I've kind of come in from every side, right? So what we can do is we can just keep marching these guys forward now. Bring a big reinforce forward, shift to those guys, bring them towards the front. And we're going to try and march forward. I don't know what's happened over here. What is... You just lifted a siege tank down there. Remember, your response whenever you're getting shot from a weird angle is always to drop a scan, guys. And stim my whole army. I didn't even A-move, we just stimmed because it felt like that was going okay. And it looks like, wow, GG, well, a great battlecruiser harassment opening. Really well done by them. I did not expect that because I'm used to people who open fast BC not having an expansion down, right? And this is a hole in our build, guys. This is a weakness. What about building some sensor towers? You could build a sensor tower out here if you want, but a sensor tower doesn't allow you to shoot through the fog of war, so it's not high priority at all. It's a nice bonus thing, but we're not exactly super rich in this game, so it is what it is. GG, well played. So I want to point out the weakness, guys, because remember, with our build, if they don't have an expansion... Wait, what? Oh no! It was a misclick, right? Or was that on purpose? I don't know if that was a big brain trick or a misclick. What? Which one was it? LL, GG, well played, mate. The battlecruiser really caught me off guard because of that command center, my dude. You had to start the BC? I think you could have started it anyway. It was a very cute idea. I think you'd have enough money to do it here because the fusion core's a little while away. Fusion core's still 20 seconds away. Very cool trick though. The command center did actually trick me. I really like that. You denied my scouting. The command center tricked me. I think you could have let it finish and the battlecruiser still would have started because you only get 300 minerals back. So if we think about it, fusion core finishes and you have... Say you have 300 less minerals than this, you'd still be at 350. So you'd only be 50 minerals short. Amazing. So anyway, guys, if we didn't see a command center there, I would have scanned. I would have realized this looks like a battle cruiser build. Even if I don't see the fusion core, I would just be like, well, this looks like it could be battle cruiser. We'd build a Cyclone and a couple Vikings to be safe, right? Because I didn't, we were wide open to it, right? And because my next scout doesn't get there till like 5 minutes with the Viking normally, and I was even slow to send the Viking across the map. So that BC teleported in. It did crazy damage, man. It did so much. It killed so many SCVs, and I really thought I was pretty screwed here. If I tried not to stutter step too high level, you might say that's probably still too high level for Silver League. I'd probably agree with you, but you really want to get right underneath it there rather than stopping to attack. So really keep in mind, guys, if you're fighting it without Vikings and stuff, your Marines only have 5 range. The battle cruiser, on the other hand, has 6, and more importantly, it can move and shoot. So when it gets at maximum range, it's hitting Marines nonstop, and all your Marines at the back are stuck behind each other. So I made a big mistake, which I kind of did on purpose because I knew what I had to do, but I didn't do it because I'm trying to, you know, not emulate. Because he wasn't watching, right? Alan wasn't watching, so I could have moved further in, shoot, move further. Because now I've let him get away. Now half my Marines aren't going to be fighting for the rest of this battle, and rather than chasing and fighting with 1 or 2 Marines versus a battle cruiser at a time, I have to back away. But once the Viking gets there, notice I repair that, the Cyclone goes to town, and the Cyclone and the Viking are really good. An interesting tidbit is cyclones will automatically, with an A move, only 1 Cyclone will lock onto a target. So with the next battle cruiser, when it comes in, I have 2 Cyclones, only one of them locks on, the other one just uses its crappy little attack. It takes pretty advanced micro to actually counter that. So even if that back Cyclone got in range, which I think it might barely be out of, you need to actually manually tab or control click your Cyclones and use the ability on it. Otherwise, it'll only be a single one locking onto it. So you want to use that against like Ultralisks and battle cruisers occasionally, things like that. It's not something you really need to know at low level, but just sharing bits of information so you guys know how the units work. Now, after that, I'm actually ahead, guys, because we just kept building SCVs and rebuilding, and because Al-Elm's expansion was a little slow, and obviously they were distracted by building the microing the battle cruiser, they're also trying to do some fancy add-on swaps here, which does make sense, but is of course very tricky to handle. And they often also were only queuing 1 or 2 SCVs at a time. So Al-Elm really needed to queue 5, 6 SCVs like I did. Remember when I took the damage, guys? What did I do? I said, I need to non-stop build SCVs to recover, and I held down the SCV key, and I just like fully focused on fixing my economy. And I was always ready if another battlecruiser came in to just A-move these guys. Arguably, I was very open to ground aggression, but you can't really afford that in the battlecruiser, number 1. Number 2, siege tank on the high ground is very safe, right? So I felt this squad of units, 4 Vikings, 2 Cyclones, a few Marines, was going to keep me safe. Arguably, 2 battlecruisers could teleport in, Yamato the 2 Cyclones, and take it out, but hey, you can't be safe against everything. All right, guys, final game for today is going to be a Terran versus ZERG, a nice way to finish Silver League. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who are saying, hey, I'm in Silver League. Dude, you didn't get any games against X, Baneling Bust, or a really fast 12-pool Zergling Rush, or Proxy Reaper. Don't worry, that's why there's 2 parts of Silver League. That's why we've done 20 games. That's why we've tried to encounter as many builds as we possibly could. But at the end of the day, StarCraft has unlimited variety. Keep in mind, though, you can always apply a few of the general rules, especially if you look in the document. !B2GM doc if you're live in chat. If you're not watching live in chat, it's down in the description of the YouTube video. Open that description up. There's a nice link. You guys can all view it. It's a publicly viewable Google document. You can't edit it. I do still get requests to edit some of my old Bronze to GMs, and that is a hatchery block. Okay, guys, we're still going to scout with our SCV, and this is interesting because a hatchery block is a very advanced build. Now I can break you down, so we need to figure out, is it 3 hatchery before or is it hatch pool gas? Because that'll define how we respond if we were playing at Masters League, which we're not, guys. So don't worry, we're just going to keep doing the build here. For now, we're just going to do it on the high ground. So we're just going to go completely normal build, don't change anything, and go for the command center there. Now, arguably, we could do the proxy / 1 base all-in response and have gone depot and bunker, then command center. But either way, as long as we stay on the high ground against any crazy build, it should be fine. Now that SCV is just going to hide there. See what's up behind this? SCV is building. Because we We do want to build a bunker as well, of course, in case this is a serious rush.
Add-on
We don't know
complete.
for sure. There could be an expansion, maybe. So we will build a bunker on the high ground rather than the low ground is going to be the big difference. I guess we can just build that now.
Bad news?
Build that bunker like there. Should be fine. Maybe there's okay. Yeah, why not? All right, queue up 2 more SCVs. Queue up some more Marines. This SCV is not in vision.
You scared me.
And we can see, yeah, so he's trying to expand. So it looks like he's probably just trying to delay me. Just keep the wall off up. And be careful, because only 1 Marine can fit there. So you want to change the rally point to up here. And if you want them to go there, shift-click it there. You can actually shift-click rally points, something a lot of players don't realize till they've been playing for a while. Queue up a few more Marines, a few more SCVs. And you can see we can kind of follow the normal plan. Now, one problem we can run into here is if he spreads creep out of a queen from this, it's really hard to clear up. So we're just going to send this SCV down, see what's happening on its way home. For now, make another orbital, drop some mule, make some SCVs, put some guys on the second gas, get a tech lab, and a starport there as well. Okay, those on control 4. Keep building Marines. So he's lava injected and he's making zerglings there, guys. Now, how do you know he's lava injected? Because you see those little eggs on the hatchery?
Command center has been upgraded.
Those are specifically from lava
Our
inject.
SCVs are under fire.
Okay. Build a tank. Let's raise that. Now, to deal with the creep that's inevitably going to spread from this, we will just make a Raven, guys, probably. I know that's kind of not what we've ever done before, but that's okay. We're building tanks, so it's time for Gary to start building depots. And as long as we keep building Marines and tanks, we get a Viking and then Lib, just like we normally do, should be good. I guess we can get Bruce to build another depot because we're a bit close to being supply blocked. And let's queue up another tank. I think the tanks are the most important part. And I want to get a tank here because I think that reaches the furthest. So we're just going to move this tank, steer it around those Marines, queue it up there, right on the edge. And now with the tank up, we're looking pretty good. The one risk you have, don't lower that depot or the Lings could jump on top, is you can get friendly fired here. And that's a big problem. So let's move this Viking out and use that for vision. Keep building SCVs here, dropping mules, building Marines, building tanks and Liberators. Actually, we're not going to build Liberators, just build a reactor. It's too complicated. Just build tanks and Marines, we should be fine. So it looks like he's trying to mine this and he's building spores and spines. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we'll put another one down there. And you can see here with our Marines, these guys are all on control too. Oh, he's got an Overlord over there. I'm like, how is he hitting me? So if your opponent's hitting you on the high ground, guys, and just put those Marines on hold position there. It means they must have high ground vision. So we're going to kill this Overlord. We'll then check the pillar down here. And then we want to just do the zigzag.
Add-on is up and running.
So that Viking just going to go do stuff. Keep building SCVs and mules here. Marines, tank, build a Medivac. Oh my, we're supply blocked. Gary and Bruce, keep building depots. And it's barracks time. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Now we need to go gases and engineering bays. Oh wait, to do that we need an expansion, don't we, guys? So what we're going to do, in this sort of scenario, it's easy to just run your whole army down and lose it. We're just going to send a few Marines down at a time, try to deal with this. But he's got Queen still here. I think we have to just go down and hope we have enough to do it, guys. Let's bring some SCVs as well, start them mining from the natural. This guy can float down. And we're just going to try to do this. Control click this. I think we just have to risk it because we can't take... It's already 6 minutes and we haven't mined from our expansion. So we're just going to move our Marines down here. We just want to try to keep them in a ball if we can, guys. Because if they're spread out, they can get surrounded by zerglings. And notice they won't target the creep tumors on their own, so you got to kind of do it manually. Now, we didn't get a Raven, that's okay. You want to scan, and scan has a much bigger radius. So you can put it like here, and you can see that's going to kill all of those creep tumors. You want to make sure you get to the edge. You see where that scan radius goes? So there's no way they can have any more tumors spreading out. And you can see here, the way it's all receding, that tells us there's no active tumors that we missed. All right, guys, let's change the rally point to the natural. Keep building SCVs. That'll be able to land soon. Build Marines, tech lab, reactor. Build a tank. Build some Medivacs. And then what do we need, guys? You guys know what we need. Double gas. And, of course, the engineering bay as well. Oh my god, hurry up and recede, creep. Move. I need to mine here. Hello?
Add-on complete.
Jesus, disrespectful. Alright guys, let's get stim and shields. Gary and Bruce apparently accidentally pulled them off. So let's do some supply drops. Gary and Bruce are gonna just keep queuing up to build more. Alright, we can finally
Add-on
do
is up
that.
and running.
Chuck some dudes on each gas, guys. Looks like I missed one on each. There we go. Start +1 weapons. Build some mules, build some SCVs. And sell the bunker on the high ground. Alright, Marauders, Marines, tanks, Medivacs. Now, in this scenario, you feel like you're just dead, right? Surely you're so far behind you can't win from there. You gotta remember something, guys. Your opponent also had to do all that crazy stuff. So, is it really the end of the world? Maybe. Maybe not. We do want to wall off here as well, because we're so far behind on supply. I think that's okay. Gary and Bruce will keep building in the main, but we'll just slowly wall off.
Nothing left in that mineral
A
cluster.
few more Marauders, lots of Marines, tanks, and Medivacs. You can get concussive shells. You can also get +1 armor here as well. What's our working count? It is 47, so it looks like we're okay, guys. And our main's starting to mine out, so we can grab some of those workers, put them on the natural. Now let's put some spotters out there, guys. Deselect, there, shift deselect,
Research complete.
there, shift
Mineral
deselect,
field
come
depleted.
back and control 2. I guess we probably want ones out the left as well,
I feel you.
and out the right. So we're putting a few Marines outside our base to make sure we don't get ambushed. Speak of the devil. Okay. Now this is where a pro gamer would target the banelings with their tanks, or run their Marines away. I didn't do either. I did some deer in the headlights micro, as we call it, aka not microing. More Marauders, more Marines, more tank, more Medivac, and build more depots in the main. Alright guys, remember, even though you feel so far behind, your opponent, to pull off such a crazy build,
Research complete.
spreading creep, building spines, building spores, they've spent so much money doing all that. And that is the big problem. Box these, shift 2, box this, shift 2.
Upgrade is
Can
ready for
mine from the
use.
depot.
This better be good.
I can unsiege. Alright guys, let's A move, deselect 2, A move, deselect 2, A move, deselect 1. Let's unsiege these tanks, shift 2. Let those Marines get vision. Do one more big production round. Tank. Get one more tank going. These guys as well, shift 2. Alright, let's move forward, guys. Alright, we're going to move forward to this high ground here. I'll move to here first, and then I'll monitor a lot more after.
Nothing
Oh,
left in that
overseer
mineral
scouts
cluster.
coming in. We can just A-move that. We can A-move back to the middle. Alright guys, lots of Marines, Marauders, tanks. How many Medivacs do we have, by the way? Okay, I do have a decent count. Not too many, but some. Raise the wall in case a run-by comes in. The minimap. Look at the minimap, guys. We've got really good vision on what's going on. This is great. So he could come in and ambush us from here. I'm going to scan that army to make sure, because if he runs left, I need to siege up real quick. Alright, quick, let's siege these tanks. Spread the bio around. Remember, guys, it's control click, siege. That's what I do. You guys want to control group your tanks separately? Go for it. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people like to do that.
By the numbers, boys.
Get these tanks up there. That tank over there. This tank can move down here. Alright, guys. More bio. Don't know where that Ling Bane army is. Still don't know if it's here or not. We're going to leave these guys. Oh, there it is. Alright, let's grab some annoying guys and say, hey, come fight me. These guys are going to run in here, guys, and they're just going to attack move this base. If you want, move in a bit closer to kill some drones. Pick up into the Medivacs if you can. I would normally run away, but I didn't see those units coming from the left. I've lost a bunch of them unnecessarily. Behind it, he's going to roll in at home. I'm too slow to notice, so I don't react. Oh, whoops, Stim. Ah! Oh, he is here. Okay, no, never mind. That's why we left those units at home, because we saw an army being sneaky around the map, and this guy's already tried to ambush me on the map, so he's already showing aggressive inclinations. If your opponent's more defensively inclined, you can play a little bit differently. You don't need to be leaving a giant army at home, right? But if your opponent's out on the map, constantly doing this sort of stuff, that's a different story. So we need to build 2 missile turrets in each base. One there, one there, one there. Now we're
Nothing
going to
left
try
in
to
that
build a turret
mineral
out
cluster.
there. Because we're going to lift our main down soon to take the third. Big army here.
You gonna give me orders?
I don't know where those mutas are.
Of course.
Oh, here they are. All right, we're going to stim into our main base to try and defend these turrets. Okay, guys? So see those mutalisks coming in. Try and A-move it. Oh, he's not watching. Beautiful. Chase them. Try to use the SCV here as well to rebuild the turret. That's Gary and Bruce. That's their new job. And we're going to try and lift the base out. We're going to box all these workers. And if you're worried about your gas, which we shouldn't be because we've got plenty, you can also just retake the gases, but we're not going to bother because we've got enough. All right, box this, shift 2. And just by maintaining this position, we're making sure we don't throw our army away, right? That's always what we're all about, isn't it? Don't throw the army away. Move those guys there, move those tanks there. If you get the tanks on either side, his units as they come out won't know which way to go. And they'll just kind of not be very effective. We're just kind of moving these little chunks of units forward, but maintaining a spread with them. That boxing and clicking micro is very important to get used to. As you can see, he's going to take out a tank or two, but then he's not closing in with the other units. So we can just keep marching these units forward. And as our reinforcement gets here, that's going to be amazing. More Marauders, more Marines, more tanks. I probably could just win the game now. I guess I can just stim an annoying squad in. Try and force him to attack into me. Right click, A move. Right click, A move. Right click, A move. Better to just right click to run away here though. These guys are going to come forward. Going to keep moving these tanks up. Oh, he's trying to go for some Ravagers, which is very cute. We're just going to move some bio forward while everything else still stays spread on the low ground. You shove everything on creep, you're going to throw away your army advantage. You keep them spread out with the siege tanks, and they're good. I'm going to stim those guys. How do we win the game? Build more Marauders, build more Marines, build more tanks, build more Medivacs. Box, shift 2, and move them to the front. And notice by just lifting our main out, that's another technique to continue your income. Or you can take 2 bases as well. That's the other way of doing it, right? We could go build a base. Click there, build a base. Right now, we're still just trying to bait him in. And it's all about box, right click, or box, A move, right? That's all we're doing. Box, right click. That's how you spread units out. Just practice this. The more you practice this, the better. There's a great map called Marine Split Challenge in the arcade. And while that gets insanely hard very quickly, it's good practice just for essentially the fundamentals of controlling your army. Let's stim in and win now. Obviously, this game's been over for a little while. All right, we'll let him just kill my army. Just stim A move. I think we got the numbers, but he doesn't have enough banelings probably. Whee! Yeah. If it was like 20 banelings, maybe, but not enough. All right, army's in there. Remember, if you want to get them to all shoot at once and not be stuck behind each other, move in, then A move. Move in, then A move. Move in, right click, then A move. That's going to allow things to work out really well. Really nice proxy hatch, mate. You guys think he has a corner base? We're going to send this Marine there. Send this Marine there. Not even bothering dumping those, which is lazy. So we should dump those by pressing spacebar.
Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
Does he have a corner base? Why is he still in this? Where? Oi! Oi!
Mineral field depleted.
Alright guys, we're gonna select all army, aim move there. And we're gonna send this Marine there. How long has this been up? When did this happen?
Mined out a mineral field.
Okay, so those minerals just started mining in the last minute or so. Never mind. Tank Simba. GG, well played. My man. My man. GG. So that's a pretty tough one because the hard thing is knowing how much they're committing to the hatchery. That's what's really scary, guys. What caused you to build turrets? We saw the Mutalisks over here. Yeah, sorry, I didn't vocalize what I was doing there, but we saw the Mutalisks idling next to one of our Marine spotters, and then I went and built turrets, yeah. At first, I moved my bio down to block the path that I thought they would come in on, but then they didn't come in, so I added turrets as well. This is really hard to deal with because it's just annoying and distracting. What's lucky for me is my opponent can't handle doing this and macroing at the same time. If they literally just built the hatchery, built one spine crawler, maybe a couple zerglings, didn't even bother with the creep, or even just built the hatchery and then focused on nothing but droning up 3 or 4 bases at home, I'd probably be screwed. But because they're so focused on the front, they lose a lot. They start trying to take gases here, spores, spines, overlord speed. So they're basically dumping money into this, and this is what you find in the lower leagues, is players just overcommit to things, right? They go too far on things. So even though my response is far from what I would do in my own high-level games, it's good enough that we actually end up miles ahead. We're up 10 workers, so even though we're mining one base, what's his mining advantage? Not at all, because we've got mules. Double mules dropping, we're mining more than my opponent is, right? And there's such a big investment in this and so much APM. So if dark matter had droned up a bit harder and stuff would be fine, but as it is, the supply already tells us that I am way ahead after dealing with this proxy hatch. Dark matter in the chat says, what's an inject? Nice. Nice. No, nice. If Mutalisks, would you recommend to build them? Yeah. If your opponent goes Mutalisk, you always want to build one turret in each mineral line and potentially a few other turrets protecting your base. Like, you know, you could build like a turret there, a turret here, kind of protecting your production, turret here, something like that. But make sure you have at least one turret in each mineral line, and if lots of Mutalisks flying, you have to quickly repair it with the SCVs to defend it. But Marines beat the crap out of Mutalisks as well, so if you ever catch them when they're not looking, that's great. What is actually inject? It's spawn lava. Inject lava is what we call it. I don't know if they ever changed the name from inject to spawn, or why we call it inject. But basically, they spawn lava on the hatchery. And what it does is after 29 seconds, 3 extra lava pops out. So it's the macro mechanic of ZERG that actually gives them really sick production. Yeah. I hope you guys learnt a lot. We'll see you next time in the Gold Part 1 episode, where we are going to be doing a whole bunch of new things.